Hello, 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 and welcome to the Bada Bin program. I am one of your hosts, Dave, and down here in the corner is my good pal, Chris. Chris, how are you this fine Friday morning?
Hey, it's a little late in the week for us, isn't it?
Right, I know, but guess what?
Yeah,
I was on vacation, baby.
vacation week.
I got sand in all the wrong places, if you know what I mean.
Or are they all the right places?
Well, that depends on your perspective, but yes, family vacation. I mean, I'm still amidst this time off from work, but we did take a nice trip to Galveston Island in Texas. I have to
Beautiful.
note it's an island. I can't just say Galveston. Galveston Island, because I'm going to show off
Hmm.
some of my wares from my hunts later, and I am very impressed that I could find such a thing on an
On an
island.
island.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. But no, good times were had by all. I got some sun, some
Hmm.
surf. I got bit by something. I don't know what the hell it was.
A mollusk.
Well, it could have been because the
Hmm.
waves on
A sea
Galveston.
monkey.
Well, if it's been living down there for a very very long time, but the waves roll in like chocolate milk. So
Mm.
with that, it's very hard to see what is below you as you step
I bet.
around in the ocean. Yes,
I
so
bet. You got to watch out for quicksand.
that I am definitely not worried about in the least.
Oh,
But
good.
thank you for letting me know after the fact that that's something I should have been concerned about.
I didn't want to scare you.
Yeah, no. Well, it's like the same thing anytime you go to the ocean. If someone's like talking about sharks or wearing a Jaws t shirt, you're like, bad timing.
Not going in, yeah.
Exactly. Really bad timing with that. But yeah, so how's your week been going since I just explained I had such a great time?
Same as it ever was. Just days in a row, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, doing what you do.
All right. Well, since your week was so boring, were you
Hmm.
happy to get texts from me explaining how much of a great time I was having?
Oh, I'm always happy to get texts from you,
Okay.
regardless of what's going on. But our vacation's coming in. Well, 2 weeks from now, we'll be on vacation.
Mm.
So yeah, we shouldn't interfere with an early in the week recording for us. But yeah, for the end of the week, we'll be up in Snoqualmie Falls, Washington.
Say that three times fast.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
a, it's a good place to go. Nice,
Okay.
beautiful place.
What
Beautiful
made you
place.
choose that?
We are big fans of Twin Peaks, the old show, and a good portion of that takes place at a hotel,
Hmm.
um, the Great Northern, which they actually used a place called the Salish Lodge as the site for it, and we stay at the Salish Lodge. We've been there 3 or 4 times. It's a real cool place. The diner from Twin Peaks is there,
Hmm.
right down the road. You can get some really really good, damn good cherry pie there.
Okay.
It's a good time. It's a real good time. It's beautiful, beautiful place.
Do they play up the whole aspect of the TV show there to the nines?
We were unsure. Well, the first time we went was 2018, and when we got there, they're like, "Hey, what made you choose the Salish?" And we're like both like very sheepish, like, Twin Peaks, and they're like, "Oh." And they hand us this brochure like about the real Twin Peaks, and it has all the shooting locations and the maps to get there.
Hmm.
They don't really. It's not like on Front Street, but they're not ashamed of it. Um, and like their signature cocktail is actually called the Dale Cooper, which is Kyle MacLachlan's character from Twin Peaks, and it's a tasty drink. It's a tasty drink.
Right on. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I sounds like a fun trip. So I will anticipate texts from you in
Mm-hmm.
return now, telling me exactly
Yes.
what you're doing, when you're doing it, to the point where it's an annoyance, much like the text that I send you.
Oh no, no. But I'm also going to be taking advantage of being in Seattle.
Hmm.
Not a huge fan of the city, Seattle. The few times I've been there, but I do want to check out some comic shops up there, just for something for us to talk about here on the show, and I don't know, maybe find some of my Grail books that I haven't been able to find locally.
Okay.
And we've talked about that, and we'll talk about it again later when we look through your stash. It's always very exciting to venture into a uncharted , comic shop.
Right.
Uncharted bins, it's I think it's as close as old folks get to Christmas. Seasoned comic fan Christmas.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a good way to put it, as a matter of fact, right? It's like you just don't know what's around the corner, but the anticipation of
Yeah.
going and finding that new
Hmm.
hunting spot
Of course.
is what it's all about, man. Digging,
At the
baby.
But the weird thing is, when you're in a foreign comic shop,
Yeah.
um, you're always like kind of tempered where you don't want it to be too good because it's like,
Hmm.
crap, I gotta go home. It's
Ah,
like you can't, you're not gonna be able to go back every week or every month. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to wait a year if I
well,
ever come back here. I,
yes.
like we went to Omaha over the around early November. We went to Omaha and I made sure to stop at, I think it was Krypton Comics, and as I'm going in there, I'm like, I hope this is great, but not too great, because it's like I
Oh,
don't want to have that like knot in my stomach. It's like, I wonder if they had it. I wonder if they had this book I'm looking for now. And I don't know. It was a middling store. It was pretty good. Not one I need to go to every week, but you got that weird tempered sort of expectation.
okay, right on. I mean, I would think if you're there and you're worried about never being back again, you just load up. You're taking advantage of the situation, and then you have an
Then you got to
excuse.
load it on a plane.
Okay, well that's a little tricky, yeah. But I mean, you
Yeah.
also get to explain to your significant other, hey,
This is a once in a lifetime.
yeah, yeah, exactly. This is why I'm spending all this money. This is what I'm doing. You got to understand it. I may never be back here again.
Yeah.
Give me a
They
break,
have
you know?
they have Detective 880 for less than $200.
All right, yeah,
Gotta bite it. Gotta bite now.
it's 199.99. Let's go for broke, baby. Yeah. Well, in my case, it wasn't my first time visiting the shop because I go to
Okay.
Galveston every. Can't be freezing. All right, this is unacceptable. Um, well, if the audience didn't pick up on that, I was just going to say, what a difference a year makes, right? I've been
Hmm.
there before. It was okay when I went last year, right?
Okay.
And I wasn't, and I bought a few things, but again, I'm a cheapskate. I've said this many times, so I'm like, well, maybe something's a little different this time around. Unfortunately, no. The books were all priced pretty much the same, and they were probably still the
Hmm.
same books that were sitting there last
Oh
time I
yeah.
visited that
Yeah, your
that
fingers
beautiful
touch the same
location.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But at the time, my priorities were a little different as far as what holes to fill.
Okay.
So this time around, I did grab some Superman I needed.
Hmm.
And actually, only 3 books because they were $3 a whack. So I spent $9.
Okay.
My budget was 20,
Hmm.
but I was still like kind of $3 for this book. I could keep going, but should I keep going?
Hmm.
No, but I did get the main book, Adventures of Superman and Action. So other than Man of Steel,
There you
bleh,
go.
I kind of went across the spectrum there. So that was fun, and these were books I needed.
Sure.
But while I was digging and I'm looking at the price, I'm like, I don't know, man. These kind of feel like dollar books to me. So I'm
Hmm.
paying like a vacation tax. And the reason why I kept saying island, like I got paid a nickel for every time saying it, was like it's that kind of tax.
Sure.
Like, hey,
Sure.
man, this made it to an island. It
It's
crossed a really
exotic.
big bridge. Yes, it crossed a huge bridge to get here, man.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, it's $3 a whack. But what are you gonna do? But
There
again,
you go.
that's one of those things, man. Is the older you get, you mentioned bins are Christmas for old folk. It's like talking about the price of a gallon of milk in 1956 compared to 2024,
Sure.
where you go
Sure.
on, geez, back in my day, these were quarter bin or these were dollar
Hmm.
bin. So it's kind of hard to disassociate with that and then
Oh yeah.
accept a $3 price tag on a
For
back
sure.
issue. And I actually texted you about that, and you set me straight.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, what did you say to me? That was the lead in for you to explain to the fine
Oh,
folks out there how
I didn't
you
want to. I
calm
didn't
me
want to
down.
jump in.
Hey,
Are you frozen? There you go. Okay.
okay,
You
I
got to
am
move
here.
around a bit because there we go. Okay. It
Okay.
says poor connection, which
Oh
that's not
man,
ideal, is it?
no, it is not. Technical
Mm-hmm.
difficulties are not a great thing to have, especially when we're doing a live broadcast. But alas,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
plug
the
what?
poor connection just left the screen, so maybe we're better now.
I don't know what to do.
Okay.
I'm at a loss. I'm not a technical
Hmm.
wizard, so we're just like I said, we're just gonna press on and hope for the
We're
best.
gonna press on.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were saying here, these are 20-year-old books, and I said something like, Yeah, what would you expect to pay for a 20-year-old book back in that day? Back in
Mm-hmm.
2002, 2003, going back to the 80s, the early 80s, you'd be paying more than $3 a book. So these are older. I think everything's relative where uh, things are less special as years go on. But it's I remember buying books from the early 80s and they'd be $5, $10 each.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2024 paying $3 for a 2000 book, it could be worse. Could be far worse. But your point is definitely well stated. Sometimes we
Well.
get in our head. Well, no, for sure. I mean, sometimes we get in our head what a valuation on a book ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because we used to see them fill the 50-cent bins. Maybe because, I don't know, it's just our own personal bias toward a book. Or maybe it's because you've seen like bundles of these books go for so much cheaper online, or your friends have gotten them or something. And that's something that I'm dealing with now as I'm trying to fill in holes, where there are certain books that I don't want to pay more than what I think they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And like the big one for me now is Shadow of the Bat. The tertiary Bat book, the one that the lesser, the sea level book, right?
Right.
This thing used to be in 50-cent bins all the time. That's usually the main place I would see it, and it was I talked about the uncanny valley of collecting, where like at first you're overwhelmed by how many books you need and how many books are available, and it's like you try to calibrate and govern how much you spend, so you're not just buying like a 100 issue stack every time you go out.
Right.
So you got to pick and choose what you're going to get. And sometimes when you're someone like me who's very all or nothing, you just choose not to do any. So they're just sitting there and you're thinking about them. It's like, oh, I should have done that. But Shadow of the Bat for me is a 50-cent book, no matter how good or bad it is. So when I see them in the bin for even $2, that's too much. Legends of the Dark Knight, another one that I'm trying to fill in some holes on. It's like that to me is a 50-cent book or a dollar book. So when I see those in the bin for even a buck 50 or $2, it's like, maybe
Okay.
not.
Now, here's the hypothetical for you. Let's
Yeah,
say you were 2 issues away from finishing that run.
there's the rub. Yep, there's the rub
Then,
because
let's say it's $3, 250, and you're like, this is a 50-cent book, but where am I going to find it now for 50 cents? Do you pull the trigger?
I'll up you there. Let's say I
Mm.
need one issue and it's $10. I'll buy
Ooh,
the damn thing
you're a high
just to fill
roller.
it. Just to fill the whole, just to knock the thing off my list and do it in, because that's like one of the laws of comic collecting. I think
Mm-hmm.
you'll find 90% of a run for a buck or below, but the ones you're missing, I mean, they're either going to be the ones that are worth something or the ones that are just they just don't show up in your neck of the woods. So when you do see it, you pounce.
Yeah.
Regardless, I mean, within reason, of course. You're not going to, blow a grand on something unless it's, ancient. But yeah, it's like I've done that before, and I'm sure when I get closer to finishing up Shadow of the Bat and I see an issue of it for like $7, I'm gonna buy the damn thing
Chris, you
because
do
it's
realize when you said $10, my eyes got big. A
oh,
grand is like Monopoly money for
that's
me
a
when
that's
you're
a
talking
purple
about
dollar
collecting.
bill, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like who the hell would spend a grand on something? But hey, real quick, you did
Mm,
say I made my point very well. I never mentioned the store I went to.
hit it.
That's ridiculous, man. What kind of terrible? I can't plug anything to save my life. God forbid we ever get like any kind of promotional materials we got to push around here. But Lone Star Heroes comics and toys.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2 years I've gone there. It's a decent enough shop, despite the fact I'm moaning and groaning over a $3 back issue. But it's the only spot on the island specifically dedicated to comics. They don't have modern new comics like weekly stuff. They have a
That's
bunch of,
always interesting.
yeah, they get a bunch of old ass action figures,
Mm-hmm.
which, yet again, a little bit too high price for my taste, but are kind of fun to look at.
Sure, sure.
And they got a whole lot of bins. So definitely
Hmm.
check them out if you're ever on Galveston Island.
Do they have more than one location there? I thought I saw more
Yeah.
addresses.
Yeah, and I've never been to the other two. I've only been to the Galveston one.
Mm-hmm.
One says Nasa El Lago, and the other one's Lake
Hmm.
Jackson, to which I don't know where either of those are. NASA, I will
Mm.
assume, is Houston or the Houston area.
I would assume. I
So
would assume.
you can check them out. That was their free plug,
Hmm.
and yeah, Chris defended them very well. So there you go.
No, and I love shops that that'll actually take the risk and not do modern books. That's always a fun place to stop. That place I talked about a few weeks ago, Jesse James Comics, did that for a while, where he was making all of his money on the back issues.
Hmm.
And I mean, this was around the time of, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but the timing was weird, where it was like Marvel was doing Legacy, and they were pulling that weird thing where, if you remember Legacy, you had those lenticular covers,
Sure.
where it's
Yeah.
like you have the classic cover and then you turn it and it's like a modern cover, just that with the homage to the original.
Hmm.
Um, but the gimmick there was like if you wanted the Amazing Spider-Man lenticular, you needed to order 100 copies of Squirrel Girl. Like really gaming the system there.
Hmm.
It wasn't like you needed to buy a lot of Spider-Man because hell, if you're going to sell Spider-Man, you're going to sell Spider-Man. But it's like
True.
here's a book nobody wants, or maybe you can swing 5 copies a month of Squirrel Girl. But no, no, you need to buy 50 of them to 100 of them if you want the access to the lenticulars. And it was around that time where he stopped selling the modern stuff. I don't know if there's any
Hmm.
correlation. I'm always seeing symbolism when there ain't there, when it ain't there. So, and that particular stunt from Marvel really annoyed me anyway. So I guess I look for any reason to denigrate it.
Hey, no, but I get it. You know what I mean? Let's pump some product that nobody's looking to get just so they can get
Hmm.
that one little item that they do, in fact, want. They want this
Yeah,
lenticular cover.
yeah.
Um, for me and you can take that lenticular cover and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. I'm not buying this many copies of
No.
Squirrel Girl, and the same goes to Mr. Jesse James. Is the owner's name really Jesse James?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting one. I've always admired
Yeah.
people who have these really
Hmm.
cool
Oh,
names,
absolutely.
you know?
No, and he's a hell of a guy too. He's a real cool guy.
Even though I once worked with a guy named Will Smith, and I think
Hmm.
for him it was more of a curse than a blessing.
Oh, could you imagine like everybody asking if he's jiggy with it or
Yeah,
something every
yeah,
day?
yeah, exactly. You
Oh.
related? What's going on? You his twin brother? What's going
Hmm.
on here? No, do I look like him? No. So, but Jesse James is like kind of badass. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
same if I was named after an awesome weather event, like if my last name was Lightning.
Dave El Nino.
There we go. I'll take it, man. It's better than what I got slapped on my birth certificate. That's for darn sure. But yeah, that's a great question though. How much is too much? Which
Yeah.
it almost feels like we talk about this on a semi-regular basis, especially because we like to collect on a budget,
It's what we do. Yeah.
and we also don't believe in slapping credit cards down when you buy things. It's either a
No.
debit card or a hard
Or or
cash.
greenbacks. Yeah.
Greenbacks. There you go. You know what I mean?
Cash
It's like
on the barrel.
what? Yes, what I have. I'm not spending money I don't have on my hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, real quick, this issue I'm holding in my hand is Comics 790,
Hmm.
and this is it's kind of funny for me because you know those issues in a run that you need to get but you don't want to get for some reason. Maybe it's the creator,
Okay.
maybe
Sure.
it's the storyline. This
Hmm.
one actually stars Crypto,
Hmm.
the super dog, and man, do I hate myself some Crypto. And I'm not even talking about cryptocurrency. I'm talking about Crypto, the super dog. Oh
A
god,
little
I can't
silly.
stand him. Yeah, I mean, I understand. It comes from an era where every superhero
Yeah.
had a pet. Every
Beppo the
superhero.
super monkey, the
Yeah.
horse, Streaky the cat. Yeah.
What was Martian Manhunters again? It was like
I don't remember.
I want to say like Zoots or something. He was like a little
Oh,
like fuzzy. He looked like a Monchichi.
I don't remember that at all.
I'm gonna have to Google that and get back to you on that one. But yeah. So anyway, we do have some topics at hand. Unless there's more you
Sure.
want to talk about as far as vacations or digging in the bins. I mean, you
I
know what?
mean,
Actually,
sure, we're gonna get back to it.
well, real quick before we do, to anybody who's watching this, if you have any suggestions on places Chris should hit up
Oh yes.
while
If
in
you're
the
in the
Pacific
Seattle area,
Northwest,
yeah.
let us know. Badabinshow at gmail.com and reach him. He's got
You could-
multiple ways to reach him. Chris, geez, Louise, you're like a
Mm-hmm.
a whore on email here. You've got.
Oh, I'm the virus nobody wants.
There
Yes.
you go. Yeah, right. So I don't know if you want to throw any of those out there or just stick with Bada
Later.
Bin Show. Okay.
Later. Yeah, the Bada Bin show. That's where we'll keep it for
Okay.
this discussion. I do know that the Fantagraphics has a store up in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me there won't be a dollar bin there. But it might be a fun place to visit, all the same.
Okay, very cool. I am actually
Yeah.
Googling right now. Zook. The
Zook.
sidekick was known as Zook. He was the goofy pet sidekick, and I am right. He's like a half dog, half little
Hmm.
person
Okay.
with some alien antenna. Who
Well, there
really
you
should
go.
have been Martian Manhunter should have punted him
Hmm.
out of the pages of his book. But there you go. So anyway, topics that we have that we're going to be
Hmm.
kicking around today. One is that stories. Comics are full of stories, right? They're all about the
Allegedly.
yarns, baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
allegedly, supposedly, unless it's enough said. But
Ugh.
for every successful story that's out there, every legendary tale that's ever hit the shelves, there are some that just really didn't live up to the hype surrounding
Yep.
it. You know what I mean? I know you have one involving Robin, maybe?
I do, and
Okay.
this is what kind of inspired this topic here. I just thought it was a fun talking point. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my breakdancing nightcrawler just fell down,
Okay, great.
which he'll make an appearance later.
Cool.
Uh, now, I've been trying to do like a half-ass annotation of the Batman R.I.P. story for Grant Morrison, what 2007, 2008, and there's a book that DC put out around that time called the Black Case Book, which collected all the story or many of the stories from the Silver Age that Morrison used as inspiration for Batman R.I.P.
Okay.
And one of those stories is a pretty famous one that I had heard of many times before. It's one called Robin Dies at Dawn, and it's semi-iconic, I guess. It's got a very memorable cover. It's been homaged several times, and as I do my research, I do deep research, ridiculously silly research, pointless research most of the time. And I decided to read as much as I could about this story, which is never a good thing to do. And I wound up back on Usenet, the old alt, net comics, whatever the hell, from going back to the early 80s. And I searched for Robin Dies at Dawn, and I found that this was like a lot of people's like pivot book in the Bat mythos here. It's like, oh, Batman was just a hero until this story. Or, oh, Batman was a passive read until this story. And it's like, oh crap, I gotta check this thing out. Unfortunately, the Black Case book came out when I was out of work, out of a home. It was just not a good time. So I couldn't plop down $20 on a book of golden and silver age stories. Then it went away. It was only got one print thing, so now if you want the thing, it's like $100. But the story did appear in other places, including the greatest Batman stories ever told, which I had on my shelf. So I'm like, oh crap, let me check it out. I look through it and it's not there. I'm like, oh great. So okay, so I find out it's actually in the greatest Batman stories ever told, volume 2, which I found over the weekend. So I'm there and I'm all hyped up to read this Robin Dies at Dawn story. And I get to it and I get through it and it's just eh. I mean, it's a silly sci-fi story. Spoiler alert: Robin doesn't actually die.
Oh man.
Yeah, he doesn't actually die. It's Batman used to have this like mad scientist friend who would like he would put like this crown on him, and he'd like had these. It's basically like this weird alternate reality or AI sort of thing where he's just like in this. I'm sure there's an easier way to describe it, but it's mental imagery. So he has this dream or vision that Robin gets killed by this giant robot on some sort of weird planet. And Batman's like, "Oh, he's dead," and tears are coming down, and then okay, you're out of the simulation, and everything's cool. But I mean, that was what a lot of
Okay.
the stories were back in the 50s. The 50s were very weird space age sort of stuff.
Right.
The transition from the gold to the silver age. Um, but for a story that I'd hyped up so much in my own mind, it fell so flat.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired me to reach out to you. And it's like, hey, have you ever had a story like this where it's like you were just hyped to the moon and back, and then you sit down with it, you receive it, and it's just like, okay, and
Mm. Well, I think you forget to mention something really significant about that
okay,
story in particular
hit
is
me.
that it predates our
Hmm.
space program. That when Robin was on that distant
Hmm.
planet, he actually proclaimed, "This is a small step for man, a giant leap for short pants."
There you go.
So there you go. They copied him. Who was it? Neil
Hmm.
Armstrong or something? So
Buzz something or another.
Buzz Aldrin.
Mm.
I'm not a history
Yuri
major.
Gagarin.
Okay, sure. Eureka. Whatever, whatever you want to say. But with this story in particular, it seems like the most of the hype was created in your own mind.
Oh, totally,
That
totally. It
then
was
it,
all me.
yeah, yeah. It's not like it was an industry
No, but it gets referenced
standardized.
a lot. It's not like I mean, it's not like a Dark Knight Returns or a Year One or
Hmm.
something. But it does get cited, and by seeing these people on Usenet, like these people who were, I was going to say they were old people, but they're probably our age. But it was back in the
Okay.
'80s, so they're technically old people. Um, that this was like a seminal issue for them. It was just like, okay,
Hmm.
well, this is something I got to check out, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, if we're talking
Hmm,
stories that, and I'm not talking about something that I hyped up,
sure.
but the world at large fandom did that
Hmm.
were just god awful, terrible, like just bird cage liner stuff. We're gonna be talking about Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns,
Hmm.
just terrible, god awful material. And I'm
I,
kidding. I'm joking.
I half agree.
Relax.
I half agree.
Oh, okay. All right. Whoa, whoa. I was just kidding there. And you're like, yes, yes, Dave,
I'm
you were
not a fan of
right.
Dark Knight. Not a fan of Dark Knight Returns.
Okay. All right. But no, I was being facetious there.
Sure, sure.
Even though I will step on some sacred ground,
Mm-hmm.
like Buzz Aldrin on the surface of the moon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I have touted on this very program as being a seminal piece of work, so important to the history of the medium. It cannot be ignored. The
Mm-hmm.
purity of it is second to none, yet it just makes for a really boring read. And that's
Tedious.
tedious is a great word too. Crisis on
Mm-hmm.
Infinite Earths
Mm-hmm.
is something where, man, when you hear someone like me talk about it and you go, dude, this has to be the greatest thing that's ever been
Oh yeah.
printed on paper in newsprint. My God, I mean, this guy just won't shut up about it. But it's much like how I would never stop talking about the Triangle era from Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those stories were a little weak, but the whole act itself of having a summit to
Oh
create
yeah.
this cohesive story to me is it still blows my mind to this day. It's just being so
Sure.
important and so fascinating. And if you could have been a fly on the wall,
Oh yeah.
you know
And
what I
so
mean?
yeah, so unrepeatable, especially now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But Crisis itself is just, it's an okay story. Just tough to get through.
Mm-hmm.
It was important. What it achieved was great,
Sure.
but it is some long-winded.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah,
There's
there's a lot of
way too
parts.
many moving parts for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
My
that's the
my
thing.
first. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say you can cherry pick like, oh, Supergirl dies, or the
Sure,
Flash
sure.
dies, or this and that's so important. But then getting there is like, ooh,
It's a textbook.
chewing on sandpaper.
Yeah, you're reading a textbook basically.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I ever heard of Crisis was on Usenet. It had its own dedicated sub forum in the DC universe, Rec Comics, whatever the hell. And so, I mean, that in and of itself told me that this is very, very important. And when I finally had disposable income and way too little sense of how to save money or spend money or
Yeah.
not spend money, one of the very first DC books I read was Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Mm-hmm.
which going into that with a working knowledge of DC would be difficult, but going into that with zero, outside of just knowing like who the Super Friends were, God, it was tough. It was brutal. I've come to appreciate it more and more just for its significance. But I don't know that I would recommend anybody read it for the story
Hmm. You
because
know,
it
it's
hits.
funny you
Mm,
say that because as a kid, when I read
mm,
it, I enjoyed the story so much more. It just, for me, and it's just something that I beat a dead horse with,
mhm.
it didn't age well, if you
Okay,
ask me. I think in my 10, 11, 12-year-old mind, seeing all these characters in one shared space and the
sure.
gravity of the situation and everything, like,
Hmm.
sure, it could have been overly verbose and a little confusing, but it was just cool.
Of course,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It was just neat. And
Hmm.
like, you definitely getting your bang for your buck. But
Oh
as
yeah,
time goes on, you're an adult now, you've read thousands and thousands of issues of comic
sure.
books. It definitely doesn't have the same impact,
No,
as it does when you're younger and it's just new and fresh and everything's
yeah,
rosy
not.
and great.
And there's definitely a law of diminishing returns with that too, because that scene. I don't remember which. It might have been Crisis 6, where like the one where Perez drew like 500 characters
Oh,
in the
yeah,
two
yeah,
page
yeah.
spread.
Right.
Everybody knows that page. How many times since then have they tried to do a riff on that? Like with the multiversity stuff, where we have to see the Earth 27 Superman and Captain Carrot's got to be there, and then the fake Savage Dragon is there. We see this thing all the time now.
Hmm.
I feel like every couple of years or every couple of months, sometimes we get this scene of them at like wherever the hell they all meet up, the convergence point from
Yeah.
the multiversity, and it's like it doesn't hit the same. It
Now, is
really
there
doesn't hit the
anything
same.
more modern that maybe you got yourself all worked up over, all hot and bothered, and then buttered up like a biscuit,
More
and,
modern.
and then you read it and just went, eh. Like, I'm just saying it for me. It was like Batman '89. I was
Yeah, I wouldn't.
really
I wouldn't have touched that one if I was paid to.
okay. Well, for me, I was
Yeah.
excited for it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Batman '89, the film,
Hmm.
was such a big deal, and then the way that they had promoted this book with Sam Hamm, the original
Sure.
screenwriter, is on it.
Oh yeah.
Had he done the sequels, this is what it's going to look like, yada, yada,
Hmm.
yada. I mean, I was like, dude, take my money. Come on. I
Hmm.
mean, I want in on this. Nostalgia needle is broken.
Sure.
And then I got it, and I'm like, this sucks, man. This is so boring. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I expected. And that's
Hmm.
more of a modern book where yet much like you with the Robin story, there's all created in here. But you know
Of
what? To be
course.
honest with you, it was outside influence as well. But I like to think I'm smarter than that. I'm more
Hmm.
intelligent to let other people sway me in my decision
Sure.
making. But it did play on my inner child, so that
Hmm.
wound me up too. So
Sure. Sure.
that's what I mean. Is anything, let's say modern, the last 10, 15 years, something that you really thought you're going to be looking forward to it, you picked it up and went, geez Louise, this was some bad salami, baby.
Because I buy so much new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like so I don't really get the opportunity to get hyped, because I don't listen to any of the hype machines where it's like, this story is going to be the best thing in the world. Okay, I can give you one. I can give you one,
Okay, I'll take it.
and it's one that you love.
Great.
Saga.
Ah, you son of a biscuit.
Saga. That book.
No.
That book had that's a book that turned me off of CBR, because when it was announced, 0 pages published. One of the people on that site gave it a 10 out of 10 rating.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, this has got to be the best thing in the world, right? No,
All right.
I read the first trade and decided that was it.
Okay.
It didn't do anything for me. Um,
I'm
it might have
obviously wounded,
actually.
by the way. You can tell. Like, I'm going
Oh,
through the
I can
motions
tell.
of
I can
making
tell.
noises, rubbing myself, like
I can tell.
pain
Yeah, I mean
radiating through
that.
my body. But
I,
please
I think
continue.
I think I can actually probably expand that to most things Brian K. Vaughan has done since Runaways.
Mm-hmm.
Because Paper Girls, that was another one. And it's like, okay, I'll be on the ground floor of Paper Girls. Eh, no,
Mm-hmm.
didn't care for it. He had that We Stand on Guard or something like that. That was like a Canadian Mountie story.
Yeah, not great.
No,
No.
no, no. I think his reputation preceded him, man. And that's not to say he's a bad writer, because I like a lot of what he did. Why the Last Man was great. I loved his Runaways. I liked his Ultimate X-Men back in the day. I liked, when he did fill-ins on DC stuff around the turn of the century. I was a fan, but
Hmm.
Saga couldn't do it. And it might have
Saga's
been,
great. Shut your
yeah,
mouth. It's
it might have
fantastic.
just been the
Saga is
hype train.
excellent.
It might have been the hype train that got me, but
Well, wait.
yeah.
Hold on. Let's slow the hype
Mm,
train down a little bit. Stop throwing coal into the
hmm
fireplace here.
hmm
Now, okay. First of all, you and I, being
hmm
who we are, anytime you
Yes.
see a 10 out of 10 review, something's wrong.
Yes.
Okay, we know that immediately. Like
hmm
there is, unless you
Yeah.
were talking an all-time classic that can stand the test of time, nothing deserves a
hmm
10 out of 10.
I think
Okay.
in the near centuries worth of comic books, there are probably 7 or 8 10 out of 10s.
Mm-hmm.
That's going back a century.
Sure.
We can't go a week without 7 or 8 10 out of 10 reviews now.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're like CBR gave it a 10 out of 10,
Before
sight
it came out.
unseen. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Or maybe they had a few preview pages. I don't know.
No.
I didn't read the
No. It
article.
was
Nothing.
announced.
Oh.
It was announced.
Oh.
These clowns. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um Still, but that made you bite on the
Oh yeah.
trade.
On the trade. Yeah.
Okay, but this is
Because
what
because
I'm
then
leading
word of
to.
mouth came. Then word of mouth came, and it's like, oh, you need to check this book out. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
it was a trade. And one great thing about Image is their volume ones or trades are real cheap. It
Mhm.
was, I think it was like the trade, like MSRP was like 7.99,
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is like, oh, that's badass. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I read it.
See, I
That's it.
got into that series late. It'd already been
hmm
going for a couple of years
Okay.
because of what you just said. The hype
hmm
train was too much
Sure.
for me, man. I'm like, everybody's saying it's so great, it's impossible.
hmm
This series is no way this series can be that good.
hmm
These people are lying to me, Chris.
They
Lying.
weren't. They were lying to you.
No, they were not, because I'm going to tell you right now, I did eventually pick that series up, and it's probably one of my all-time favorites,
Mm.
top 3, I even want to say. I
Boy,
love that book to the moon and back.
10 out of 10.
Almost, but no, I can't do that. It's against the fabric of my soul. I do feel like I've brought up the moon a lot this episode. Have you noticed that?
We're
Or
very
is that just
lunar
me in my
today.
own head?
We're very lunar.
Yeah, today we are very
Yes.
lunar, lunar
hmm
distribution. So, yes, but that book to me is one of the most finely crafted comics that has ever existed on the face of the planet, keeping with the
hmm
theme. So,
There
you
you
didn't
go.
like it, different
No.
strokes for different folks. I avoided it like the plague
hmm
because of people just saying how great it was. And
Yeah.
then for me, dude, it changed my life forever.
There you go.
Prince
Another one.
Robot, one of the greatest characters ever created for anything.
Uh, another Image book
Mm.
that the hype train kind of got us all on. Walking Dead.
Hmm.
That was another one and done trade for me.
Okay.
Just
Um, I'm
didn't see anything in
less.
it.
I enjoyed it.
hmm
That's one that got me through a rough time. Like I needed
hmm
something to fill a gap in my life. I was going through a really hard period.
hmm
That happened to be available, and
Okay.
I started it. And I started in trades, and then shortly thereafter, I want to say within a year or something, the TV show was announced. The TV show came
hmm
out. So that kind of went in conjunction with each other, and I really
hmm
enjoyed seeing the inconsistencies or the changed bits
Sure,
between
sure.
what I had read and the TV series. So it really occupied my mind when I
hmm
needed something to do just that. So I have a debt of gratitude to The Walking Dead for that specific reason. But now, yet again, the time being spent in between, I'm like,
Sure.
it was okay. So I'm less willing to argue with you
hmm
over The Walking Dead.
And I think that might actually lead to another interesting conversation.
Mm.
Those books that fill those weird times in your life that you need. You need something there. Because for me, I had a similar time, and the book that I discovered was Fables.
Okay. The Bill
Totally out of
Willingham
my,
book.
yeah, totally out of my wheelhouse. Not something I would usually ever read, but I was in a weird spot, and picked up the first trade, and I think I went like 10 trades before I kind of petered out on it.
Hmm.
But loved it while I had it. Loved it while I was going through it.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, really, my interest in comics started in my youth because my youth was a little rough. You know what I
hmm
mean? You needed
Oh
some of
yeah.
that fiction. You needed that other place to go
Sure. Absolutely.
to escape what was happening to you in real life. So,
hmm
later on, I'm trying to think how many like really devastating things happened, or I was so emotionally needy that
Hmm.
I needed something to fill that gap. Not very, not many.
Hmm.
So that's why The Walking Dead, I think, is of the most significance when we're
Sure,
relating
sure.
it to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Pretty
Another
much
thing that I okay.
water off a duck's back for me now. I'm a cold-hearted, soulless bastard.
Now, another thing I turned to during those times of need were manga, but I don't think anybody wants to talk about manga.
I most certainly do not. Now, if you are interested in Chris talking about manga, make sure you write badabinshow at
Let us know
gmail.com. Let us know, because I am more than willing
to
to
tolerate
open
it.
to, well, yeah, and I know very little to nothing about it. It's just not
Hmm.
a particular genre that I have enjoyed.
Sure, sure.
So I shut the door. I slammed it shut. But I do
Done
have
deal.
many friends who enjoy it. You
Hmm.
being one of the most notable. So, and my good friend, my work buddy Beto, he
Hmm.
loves my. Well, I mean, he reads like I was making fun of him the other day because I say Akira, right?
Akira.
You see, you guys are birds of the same feather, man, because he
I
says the
say
same thing.
Akira too. I say
Oh,
Akira
okay.
too. Yeah,
All right, all right.
yeah.
Well, you said it the
Oh,
exact same way he did.
I mispronounce every word, even in English. So
No, me too. You mean too?
yeah.
But he's like, yeah. So last night I was reading Akira. I'm like, what? Huh? You mean Akira?
You
Yeah,
mean
Akira.
Akira? Yeah,
Yeah.
Akira.
I'm like, okay, all right. If that makes you feel better by saying it that way, be my
There
guest.
you
I don't
go.
know. I just say, and like you just mentioned, I screw up words left and right. I shouldn't even be on the air. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So blah blah e blah blah. Anyway,
Hmm.
yeah. And if any of the audience members do have any stories that maybe they think fell a little short, or
Yeah.
just kind of like you expected more from them, yet
Hmm.
again, reach out. We'd like to hear about them. I know we probably have more we could discuss, but like we're kind of riffing today. I mean, this is
Yeah.
like my first day back from vacation.
Yeah, you're still getting your land legs from
Yeah,
being underwater.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You don't
So I
want to
don't
get the
have like
bends. Yeah.
no, unless it's the Radiohead album. But
There
yeah,
you go.
so I don't have a lot stewing here as far as like, let me think of what's the story that let me down the most or whatever. You know what I mean? But we did have
We'll
a few good
revisit.
examples to work with. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For
Absolutely. And we can maybe even
sure.
take it in the other direction, where it's like
Mm.
a story we had absolutely uh, no sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here?
High expectations of.
Expectations.
There we go.
Yes. We didn't have,
Yes.
we didn't have any expectations of that just blew us the hell away.
Blew our
We'll have to,
minds.
we'll have to think on that. And anybody watching, of course, we want to hear from you as well. Maybe you can spur us into discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now we kept talking about putting pins in things last episode,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? We're gonna put a pin in it. We'll get back to it later.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we were mentioning was the ever so potent and powerful pull of plastic.
Plastique.
You know what I mean? And that was kind of like coming off of our discussions about like movies and memorabilia and different
Hmm.
things. And t-shirts was the big thing because I love
Oh, yeah.
superhero t-shirts.
Merch.
Merch, yes, exactly. So if you didn't catch that episode, it was a previous one. Feel free to
Hmm.
check it out on the YouTube page. All of our stuff is on there.
For sure.
But yeah, plastic, man, action figures, statues,
Hmm.
things of that nature. It's huge nowadays in the
Oh,
collecting
yeah.
realm. And to kind of lead off on the whole thing, as kids, I'm sure you can relate to this. There wasn't a lot of value put into the property toys we played with.
No.
You know what I mean? We're out by the creek playing with He-Man, and
Yeah.
you lost Ram Man. Oh, I lost him. Well, I'll ask mom or dad to
Hmm.
buy me a new one. Or
Yeah. Luke Skywalker's arm fell off. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no big deal. Slip it in your
Yeah.
pocket, or you just throwing
Hmm.
it around the room.
Yep.
And now this is like those things are high money articles.
Yeah.
These things have value.
Hmm.
Just like with comics, because kids back in the 40s and 50s were rolling them up, putting them in their back pockets. It's harder to
Hmm.
find a nice condition of whatever issue
Anything
you want.
old. Yeah.
Yeah, anything Silver Age and beyond. But with toys, we've all glommed onto this now, where it's like a national joke, because grown men are buying toys, keeping them in boxes, and displaying them in their homes For the sake of my favorite word, nostalgia,
Hmm.
which also makes me wonder what are the value of these items because nobody's opening them, nobody's playing with them anymore,
Yeah.
and they are made in mass quantities. But we all need
Hmm.
it. We need that plastic crack, man. We need it.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are your feelings, or like, how is your like collecting status on things made of plastic figures and statues and of the
Oh,
like?
it's stalled out big time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, I mean, and we talked about this when we talked about slabbing, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, when every copy of this book is a 9.6 slab, how valuable is it? How special is it? It ain't, because everybody's got a 9.6 of this book that came out last week. Who cares? Now we have, you know, toys stay in boxes, toys stay pristine. It ain't like the Luke Skywalker with the missing arm. It ain't like the GI Joe with the rubber band snapped. It's
Yeah.
everything is pristine. So it's like the resale value, if that's what people are looking for, is non-existent unless you find someone who's willing to pay for it. And it's weird. They used to be literally disposable. Now they feel more disposable than ever.
They do, but they aren't. And for the same reason that comics that you just mentioned at 9.8, this slab just came out last month or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Speculators, people create, to use the word again, the hype machine
Mm-hmm.
around these
Mm-hmm.
figures because, as you mentioned, what is the real value of them? Not a ton,
No, what
but
somebody's willing to pay. Yeah.
FOMO, baby. FOMO. People are afraid of missing out on something, or scalpers, people buying up multiple
Oh, the chase figures and oh
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to buy, 3 cases of this when I can get them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hoard them and I'm
Yeah.
going to charge you more for them. Oh, God, scalpers
Exactly.
make me sick.
Oh yeah. There should be. I hate to say there should be laws, but there should be laws.
Yeah, well, let's write your local senator and get to the bottom of that. What do you say?
Mm-hmm. Let's do
You
it.
know? Yeah, we could. I mean, let's start getting some legislation about that, about scalping and overbuying things and all that
You
kind
know,
of stuff.
it's interesting.
Mm.
My wife is a big Taylor Swift fan. The Taylor Swift merchandise is ridiculously just flooded with scalpers and stuff. The tickets for her concerts, we were pricing tickets. She went to the her latest tour opened here in Glendale, Arizona, and she went to both nights of it. But she wanted to go at the tail end too, and it would be cheaper for us because they have laws in the UK or in England or in Europe where you can't overcharge for tickets. You know, you can't resell for more than I think 5 or 10% of what you paid.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be cheaper for us to fly to England, get a hotel, do the whole thing, buy tickets for her to go to the show, and come back than it would be to go to a show here in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why don't you? What are you waiting for? That's a better vacation than Seattle, don't you think?
Well, I mean, what would I do for those hours?
I don't know.
but it's not outside the realm of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So scalping is just it's j- it's a cottage industry. It's not even a cottage industry. It's just an industry now here in the United States, and it sucks.
Why don't you go digging in Liverpool?
I
Go,
know.
go, go digging in London, man. Swing in London. Go, go hit some bins, something. I don't know. And then your wife can see Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I can get all my Dandy and Beano books. Right?
Yeah, sure. Why not? As if I knew what that was, which I don't. So I'm just going to pretend like I do. Sounds
There
great.
you go.
Yeah, right? Right on. But yeah, no, scalping and stuff is terrible. And I mean,
Sucks.
I'm a big McFarlane guy. I collect a ton of McFarlane figures. Mostly because, okay, so let me tell a little story here. Years ago, I loved the television show Lost. And
Sure,
McFarlane came out with these Lost
that's
figures.
right.
And
Mm-hmm.
man, oh man, back in the day, the attention to detail and care in these
Mm-hmm.
figures, they were more like little mini statues than actual figures, of course. And I had a cool setup in my house. I can't remember the name of the word. I want to say it's like Mercurio, or what do you call that? It was like a lit display
Oh,
with the
Curio.
Curio. I don't know why I
Yeah.
put an M in front of it. It's mutant.
M apostrophe.
There we go. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Okay. The thing costs more than the figures that were in it, you know? But I unboxed everything. I put them all in there. And man, I just
Mhm.
like sitting in my office and kind of rotating in my chair and looking at all my stuff around the room.
Sure.
And that's how I first got into McFarlane's. But then, just, on a whim, I was looking at prices on things like on eBay. And Lost figures unboxed were significantly less than, of course, in the box.
Sure.
And I was like, what have I done? And I have zero intention on ever selling my things,
Hmm.
much to my wife's dismay, and I'm sure she can hear me.
But just knowing they're devalued.
But knowing that had I
Yeah.
just not taken that little tab off and opened it up, like it'd be worth like $100 more or something, kind of gnawed at
It
me.
gets to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of pretty much have been 90% inbox collector ever since, which kind of sucks too because for storage purposes,
Yeah. Take up a lot of
like,
room.
yeah, man, I've been trying to look for like alternate ways of like displaying figs. As you can
Hmm.
notice, I have a lot of them behind me right now on like bookshelves and stuff, and but I've had to get very creative on where to store them. And to be honest with you, I've kind of been loosening my stance a little bit now on maybe unboxing some of the
Hmm.
figures. But I still, you have that moment, man, where you're looking at it in the box and you're like, I kind of feel 50-50 on it, but then,
Hmm.
boop, that little angel or devil, whatever you choose, pops up in your shoulders like, don't do it. You know you don't want to do it. And the same applies to statues. I own only a few statues. I think I mentioned I got some cool Superman ones behind me here. Those you have to unbox because that's what they're
Hmm.
for. They're display items, right?
Sure.
And they bring me a lot of joy. Hence why I collect anything to begin with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I've kind of got these weird stigmas going on, and it all started basically thanks to Lost. Because prior to that, I had a lot of superhero stuff.
Hmm.
I played with it, man. I opened them up, but even as a
Sure.
teenager, even if I wasn't playing with it, I'd hang them from strings from my ceiling. Or I remember I had like a Silver Surfer freaking figure I put in my freezer just to see how it would look inside of ice. You know? So yeah, but as a kid too, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so
Sure.
all my friends had cooler toys than I did.
Hmm.
Like some kids would have GI Joe, and I think I had like Kmart Fighting American.
There you go.
I was definitely GoBots
A
over
corpse.
Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So now I have this disposable income.
Hmm.
I buy these things, display them, and there are times I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'll be laying down or looking at them. It's like, yeah, this is what I always wanted. I did it. I'm a success.
There you go.
This is it. So I know you have less than I do as far as the figures,
Yeah.
but how about now? Like, you mentioned, okay, let's take value out of it.
Sure.
We're doing it for love of the game, right?
Hmm.
First and foremost, it's the kind of guys that we are. How do you get your figures, and what kind of things do you collect, and why do you collect them?
Um, I get my figures from you.
Okay, well, and vice versa. I do want to mention last Christmas I got a Booster Gold Blue Beetle McFarlane that I
Mhm.
really really wanted. That yet again we don't know why, but it spiked up in price a little bit. This man right here, oop, wrong way. I'm pointing the wrong way. He delivered, and I was very very happy with that gift. But as
From
you
the
were,
mailman. Yes.
yes,
But I man, it's hard to. I can't take the value out of them. Because when you go to Target or something and you walk down that aisle and it's like, okay, there's a Batman figure or whatever figure, and it's $25. And I'm thinking, even though comic books are ridiculously overpriced right now, it's like, okay, that could be however many comics, or that could be a trip to the 50-cent bin, and that's $25. That's 50 books that I could add to my collection, or I can go to the used bookstore and buy some trades. It's just lower on the pecking order for me, especially at those prices. If they were cheaper, I might be a little bit more open to it because I mean, I do have a massive collection of older action figures. I've got probably hundreds of X-Men figures downstairs. I've got hundreds of Ninja Turtles figures downstairs. I got the Technodrome, the sewer playset, all that stuff downstairs. I was huge into action figures, to the point where those would be higher in priority than the comics back in the day. Whereas, I mean, it's just ridiculous now. It really, really is. And it's like it's not like I couldn't if I wanted to. It's just I don't.
All right, now Technodrome, is it
Hmm.
gently used from your youth?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I want that sucker mint in box, buddy.
Sorry.
Don't bring that to the table unless it's mint in box. Come on now.
Oh, I've got nothing in boxes from when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
remember I had some friends who kept stuff in boxes who were far smarter than me as far as investments were concerned, I guess. But
Well,
it's just like, it's like you're a kid, have fun.
yeah. Who thought of it that way?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Who
it's like
thought of it that
it's.
way?
I remember seeing like a buddy of mine had these Star Wars figures, the original Kenner ones, and I got a ton of those downstairs too. But he's like, oh yeah, my dad won't let me open these. He's like, your dad's kind of a dick. What's going
Yeah.
on there?
Right. Yeah.
It's like 1987. Open the damn things.
His dad was a forward thinker.
He was. I mean,
You
he's
know.
probably a scalper right now. He's probably living on an island selling Taylor Swift tickets.
Maybe. I do know you've got a pretty hefty collection of Funko Pops, and
Yeah.
Funkos were things I really did not like initially.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was very anti Funko Pop, and there was some people in my life who were like, "Dude, what's the matter with you? They're fun, you know, they're
Mm-hmm.
cheap. Come on!" And it took me a while to realize the good thing about Funkos were is even despite the lack of articulation, and some of them, that's the thing that drove me crazy. They look the same with the
Oh yeah.
faces
Totally.
and stuff. You
Totally.
know, you might just slap an S on the chest, and oh, hey, surprise, it's a Superman
Yeah.
Funko. You know what I mean? But as far as just having that cheapo piece of merch related
Mm-hmm.
to a movie you like or some kind of property you like, they really can't be beat because they are so, yet again, relatively inexpensive. Now,
Yep.
that being said, I love David Bowie. I'm a big Bowie fan.
Mm-hmm.
I like the movie Labyrinth from the 80s where he played Jareth the Goblin King.
Mm-hmm.
McFarlane came out with some McFarlane came out with some McFarlane figures.
Hmm.
Came out with a Labyrinth figure, and I decided to buy that, and I'm glad I did because this hopped up in value. So I guess people are hoarding them, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, there was a Funko, and I didn't pull the trigger on that then because I'm like, why get the Funko?
Is it right behind you?
Hold
Oh,
on,
okay, okay.
slow your roll. I'll lean over this way.
My eyes ain't great, so I just saw the hair.
They're
And
they're a
maybe.
lot better than you think they are, buddy. So yeah, and I skipped on it then, and then I was like, I went back a few months later. I'm like, you know what? I want to get it just to have it,
Mm-hmm.
dude. It was like went from $12 to like $80. And I'm like, nope, nope. And then my birthday is coming up, and as an early birthday present, my friend Beto, my good best bud there, Beto, who I talk about quite frequently, surprised me with the Jareth Funko Pop, and I dare not want to know what he paid for it because I bet you it was far too much. But he actually said to me, he's like, I wanted to get this for you because I know you would never buy it for yourself.
There you go.
And truer words have never been spoken because once something goes past that precipice or that amount, where I'm
Sure.
like just uncomfortable, I
There's a
may
tipping
want it.
point.
Yeah, I may want it really bad, but I'm not doing it for myself. I'll do it for somebody else,
Sure, sure.
but I won't do it for me. You know. So
Hmm.
this was a really cool thing, and this is up
Very
there. Like I
cool.
mentioned, I'm not gonna go get it right now. It's over there on the wall. The Blue Beetle and Booster Gold McFarlane. You got me because I'm afraid of like getting fingerprints on it and stuff. That's the yet again the collector in me, and that's definitely staying in
You're
the
supposed to have
box.
them run into each other, get their paint on each other.
No, 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 no. Think again, my friend. That is definitely not happening. At least not today. Until someone else inherits my figures or something and decides to rip them open and do whatever they want with them when I am not of this earth
There
anymore.
you go. You're
I
in
am
the
this.
earth.
I am the stuff of the cosmos, man. You know. But yeah, I do. I'll sit here and I'll admire things.
Mhm.
But back to your Funkos, because I
Mm.
totally rudely interrupted you
No, no,
with the
no.
whole Jareth, the Goblin King
No,
show off.
I only have like a handful of them. Oh, I just went through puberty there again.
Hello,
Yeah,
going through changes.
yeah, Peter Brady.
Yeah,
I did get this.
or Ozzy.
Who?
Never mind.
Okay.
Continue, please.
I got this large thing, from the Fantastic Four. I thought that was pretty cool looking.
Hmm.
I got the original five X Men, in like the 80th anniversary of Marvel set, so it's their original costumes. I thought that was pretty cool. I got a Ben Grimm in a trench coat.
Nice.
Um, I have a one of my guilty pleasures is Gwenpool, um, a character I never thought I'd ever like, and I thought I shouldn't like, but she's a lot of fun. So I have a few Gwenpool pops.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of what else I've got.
I would not peg you for a Gwenpool guy. That's
No, no, I mean
yeah.
I was I think I was talking to our friend Chris Bailey, Charlton Hero, and I had mentioned that, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's a lot of fun." He's like, "No, no, hell no, no, we're not doing that." I'm like, "No, no, she's a lot of fun because she is a lot of fun." Are you
Okay.
familiar with her story?
No, I am not. No.
She, she's basically a real world character pulled into the comic book world. So it's like she knows
Okay.
everybody's secret identities. She knows that all the stories, and it's just silly fun. She has no ties to Deadpool. Her name
Hmm.
is Gwendolyn Poole. And she's not a Gwen Stacy clone or anything. I thought it was going to be like this Gwen Stacy as Deadpool, and I'm like, oh
Yeah, like an
screw that.
amalgam
Yeah,
thing,
it's like I
right?
don't need
Yeah.
that crap in my life. But no, it's
Sure.
just a random girl who lives in the Marvel universe now. Interesting stuff, a lot of fun. But
Okay,
and
cool.
she's also she has Jeff the Land Shark, which is one of my favorites as well. But and I do have a Jeff the Land Shark figure that came with another figure, which I think I threw out. But
Well,
it
you
was like
raised the
somebody.
value. That's what you
I
just did
did,
by destroying one of them. The other one, now there you go.
I
See?
did, I
You
did.
didn't have to scalp.
But I think that's my. I think that's my Funko collection. I do have a Herbie as well from Fantastic Four. I thought that was
Mm.
pretty neat looking. But I'm very very picky in what I get. And like the first few
Mm.
Punko Brewster. The first few Funkos I got were gifts because those are like the easy comic fan gifts.
Sure.
It's like we don't know who this guy is. We only see him at Christmas.
Yeah.
I think he likes comics. Incredible Hulk's a character, right? So I got him that way.
Yeah, and
But
I mentioned before you can buy them anywhere,
oh yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah. They're ubiquitous. And I mean nowadays it's like if there's a yard sale down the block on a weekend, there's probably going to be Funko Pops there too.
Yeah, true. Very
Because
true.
they were, I mean, as cheap as they were, as cheap, monetarily. I mean, they're like you said, they're 12.99,
Hmm.
except for the Chase ones and the hoarded ones. But I think they're kind of this generation's Beanie Babies, where it's like, okay, we need to stock up on these, and then when they don't go up in value, it's like crap. Okay, garage sale time. Get this crap out of the house. We don't have room
Hmm.
for it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can go on Amazon at any given point. I think, especially around the holidays and stuff, and you'll find them 3.99 or three
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're just trying to get them out the door because they're just such a mass-produced little hunk of plastic
yeah.
that And you mentioned with the Beanie Baby stuff, the whole
hmm
the bubble burst
The
on
fear
that
of
when.
scarcity. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the thing was, they weren't very scarce at all, and
No, no. When you
um,
when you make something with the express purpose of making it a collectible,
mm-hmm,
you're doing the exact opposite.
exactly,
You know,
exactly, right?
It's
Yes,
like collector's item, first issue, only 5 million printed. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I think another
Yeah.
brilliant thing that, as far as marketing action figures goes, and another reason why they would hop up in value is the whole pre-order process, which yet again leads into
Ugh,
scalping.
yeah.
But listen, when people can't get their hands on something, boom, you know what I mean? They're willing to pay whatever it takes to, in fact, get their hands on something.
hmm
Now, I've noticed because I do a lot of my pre-orders on Amazon because you don't have to pay until it ships, and yet
Sure.
again, I like keep my money in my wallet, and then I waffle sometimes. I'm like, do I really want that? Maybe cancel
Yeah.
that pre-order.
hmm
But yeah, I've noticed. Okay, so these things will shoot up in value, but then once they're released, if you were the sucker that paid $80 for a twenty-five
Oh
dollar
yeah.
fig or $20 fig, you wait 6 months, you wait a year, maybe it
Mhm.
takes that long. Okay,
Sure.
but they'll be back down to earth,
Oh yeah.
unless it's one of those weird unicorn ones.
Those happen. Those
Yeah, they
definitely happen.
do. I know for me in particular, there was an Eradicator figure that
hmm
was Target. I think it was a Target
hmm hmm
exclusive,
Okay.
And I'm not the kind of guy who will go specifically to a store to hunt down a fig. I want
Sure.
them delivered
Sure.
to my door while I'm in
Hmm.
my undies.
Hmm.
And
You don't want to be that guy at the register with the people behind you going like, "Why is he buying that expensive action figure?"
that doesn't bother me. It's just that
It
I
bothers
don't
me.
listen, but listen, right? I will do whatever it takes to go find a bin and dig.
Hmm.
But I will not like rush to a store to see if they have the exclusive on an
Mm.
action figure. Which, to my dismay has led to this, and I consider it like a unicorn fig, maybe
Hmm.
much like the Labyrinth one where the Eradicator figure is still up there in dollars. I see it $50, $60. I'm like,
Yikes.
unless one falls in my lap, I'm not going to spend that much on it as much as I like it. And I like the character of the Eradicator. I'm a big fan of it,
Sure.
from its humble little origins as a Kryptonian device to actually
Hmm.
being a creature and on and on and on.
Sure. Sure.
And this was the design from that Tomasi Gleason run.
Okay.
So it's got the cool like black skin
The
and
the vacuum mouth.
yes, exactly, yes. So it's a cool looking fig. I just yet
Sure.
again I'm not walking to the ends of the earth,
No.
money wise to acquire it. You know.
No. The only things I kind of have on my radar now, if I can even call it that, I wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
the mini pops, the Batman
Ah,
mini pops because
the
I'm
itty
doing
bitties or something they call it,
whatever
right?
they are. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm doing NML Crossing, of course, the No Man's Land podcast, where I mean, I thought it would be really cool to have the Gotham City map, which is included in some of the issues as they
Mm-hmm.
as the gangs move around, and put the little minifig on the spot in Gotham City where Two Face operates here,
Right.
and just move them around like a real like war room, and just include that with the episodes. Sometimes just post that out. It's like, okay, this is what Gotham looks like now. It's like Penguin's here, Two Faces here, Joker's all over the place.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought
sure.
that'd be fun, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like if I can't find all of them, there's no point, and so it's like I haven't been able to, so it's not really a top priority, I guess.
Sure, okay. All right. And then, we've talked a lot about, or at least I have, about McFarlane's. I haven't brought up Marvel Legends because I'm not really a big
Hmm.
Marvel Legends guy.
Hmm.
I think I have Genus Vell here behind me somewhere because that's a character of significance. I do have some
Hmm.
toys from the 90s, like a Joe Fixit, that just managed to stay with me all these years.
Hmm.
Speaking about toys from our youth and your Technodrome and your TMNT stuff, I
Hmm.
don't really have anything. And that I collected like I was 19 years old.
Sure.
And I just happened to have it. I mean, I recently walked into a comic shop and I saw something, and it was from the late '90s, like the original version of the rubber foam Hulk hands,
Okay.
and I had them.
Hmm.
I don't know where they went, but they wanted something like $50 or $60 for
Oh,
those.
screw that.
I'm like,
Ugh.
what? I'm like, oh my
No.
god, jeez Louise. But yeah, as far as Marvel Legends goes, they're smaller. For those who don't know, by an inch than McFarlane's.
Hmm.
I did bring up the whole quality aspect of McFarlane's being great with the Lost figures. They've really gone downhill. I got to admit.
Really?
Yeah, you get some good ones. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but they make, for example, so many Batman figures, so many Superman figures. They
Oh
flood
yeah.
the market with these things. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them, they just rehash the parts. So the
Yeah.
body is the Frank Miller Superman. They keep reusing it for the '90s Superman. They reuse it for this Superman. On and on.
Okay.
And it really is just it's not as magical or as detailed and wonderful as they
Hmm.
once were. Marvel Legends being smaller, what they decided to do that was a big turnoff, I think, for inbox collectors in particular, they got rid of the clamshell box on the outside, the
Okay.
packaging. They didn't think it was a sound environmental package. So
Okay.
now it's just in cardboard. The picture of the figure is on the outside.
Wait,
Now,
what?
yes.
So you
So
don't even see the figure?
you do not. So let me kind of reach above me here without knocking anything over. As you can see, one of the more recent things I had acquired, I'm just grabbing this because this is above me right now, is the electric
Hmm.
blue Superman, right? And everybody
Okay.
sees clamshell box. Now,
Hmm.
this one in particular is interesting because the detail on it is a paint job. Okay, let
Sure.
me kind of expand the camera here for the folks at home. Bear with me here. I'm such a terrible director. But if you look at this, all the details are just painted on the fig.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
okay. So it's not like embossed.
Correct. Right. There's no
Okay.
little rubber pieces stuck on it or whatnot.
Or
So,
indentations. Yeah.
and I bring this up because if this is a Marvel Legends fig, you don't know what kind of paint job you're getting until you get
No
home
kidding.
and if you
Yeah.
want to, in fact, open that box. So for inbox collectors, that's kind of like, you know, I'm the kind of guy,
Mm.
man. I love baseball caps. If I go to a Lids or something, I'm checking every cap since they were made by some underage, underpaid child in Indonesia. So
Yes.
you really can't expect the same level of quality and detail in every single one.
This
You know,
stitching isn't as good as the other one. Yeah.
it happens, man. No
I'm
joke.
sure.
And the same applies to these figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Marvel Legends, boo.
Wait a
But
minute. That just says. Wait. That just says Superman on it. It doesn't say DC Comics' Superman.
it says DC Multiverse.
But it does. But the character's name is just Superman. That what I'm alluding to is the crappy Marvel garbage where it's like Marvel's Rogue, Marvel's Invisible Woman,
Okay.
Marvel's Thor. Why do we need that?
I don't know, man. I think we get it. I don't know. Branding. It's
Stupid.
like, why do we need Coca Cola commercials? Everybody drinks Coke.
Not me.
Okay, you're a Pepsi guy.
No,
You're
I'm
not
not
a
a
soda
soda
guy.
guy. I
Okay, you're a.
can't do sugar.
What about bubbly, like the
The,
water, with the
I'll do that
carbonated water?
sometimes when it's on sale. That's another thing. It's like if I go to the store and it's on sale, I'll do it. If it's $5 for eight of them, no,
Uh,
not
yeah,
happening.
we're
That
terrible.
that's 10 50 cent comics right there.
I know. I do that all the time too, and it drives everybody in my life crazy.
Hmm.
I relate
Oh yeah,
everything to what I can buy comics wise, everything
that's
in my
that's
life.
our currency.
I know. That's how we relate everything to ground it to reality. But anyway, back to figs there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I gotta stop. It is getting bad. So I need some help. I really
Yeah,
do.
I stopped. Probably oddly enough, I stopped collecting figures when I had money.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
growing up
it's
is
smart.
when I got them. But then when I started, you know, working full time and was making decent money, that's when I stopped
Hmm.
buying figures. I don't know if it was just like, yeah, this is worth $5 of mom's money,
Yeah.
but it's not worth $5 of mine. I don't know.
Now, Chris, real quick, you just mentioned Nightcrawler shaking his tail feather.
Oh yeah,
You have
yeah.
you have brought something to the Bada bin that you would like to show off. So why don't you do just that?
Yeah, you know, this is probably right after the Marvel Legends figures started to, because I think when those launched, they were like $10 each, which was way too much money for me. And of course now you gotta, you know, sell a kidney to get them. But they put out Marvel was gone through goes through Hasbro. I worked for Hasbro for a bit, so I got to see a lot of the really lousy Marvel figures. But they had these things called the Superhero Squad, which are for little kids. They came in two packs, and I think they were like $3 or $4 for two little figures, and they looked really cool. I thought it was cool to have like this little kitty take on heroes here. And I mean, here's our breakdancing Nightcrawler. You know, he can barely stand. You can't really do anything besides, you know, turn his waist here.
Yes.
But
Okay.
I mean, for a couple bucks, why not? And
Sure.
so I remember grabbing some of those, and I thought they were really cool. And I remember buying there was like a play set of them, like it was like a collection, and it was like five figures, and it was like $10. And that's I think that was the first thing I ever bought from the Superhero Squad because I thought it looked really neat. And I remember looking at the back of the box, and it was uh it was an Avengers set. So you had like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk, and I turn around the box and I'm thinking like, oh, you know, I'm thinking there's gonna be a little story. There was a little story in the back, and I'm thinking it's like, oh, Hulk is out of control. The Avengers are doing this. No, no, that wasn't the story. The story was the Superhero Registration Act is has been enacted. Whose side are you on?
Okay.
It was Civil War for toys
Wow.
for kids two and up. I don't silliness. Don't know.
Hey man, it's all licensing, dude. It's all like the Imaginext figures for little kids and stuff. They have like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
But this is before
licensing
the
deals.
movies. This is before
Yeah,
the movies.
but I mean, just licensing deals are just
I
insane. So of course they
guess.
can make Civil War
So
stuff and
dumb.
everything else. It's just limitless. It's great.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, you say it's dumb. I say, well, hey, more power to them, man. It's
mm,
just, can you imagine? Now, put yourself in Technodrome Christopher's spot,
mm,
playing on the carpet.
mm.
Now, had you had other than maybe like Marvel Secret War figures at the time, and you could have played with, I mean, you know, think of a random B-list character, you probably been like, wow, this is great. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I assume, unless you're just that curmudgeonly as a
No,
child.
it's. I just figure it's like you're trying to sell these things for children.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about a superhero registration act. They don't care about Shield. They don't care about governments. I mean they don't care about watching a bank of monitors in a darkened room. It's like just have these guys fight.
Yeah.
Have an adventure.
No, I always admired that villain in the '80s movie who sat with a red phone in front of a reel-to-reel tape.
Mm.
That was my dream. That's what I wanted to do. Grease back my hair
Have a
and
cat
just
sitting on your lap you can pet
there you go,
menacingly.
man. Yeah, and that was my play set. Hours of enjoyment right there, just sitting in front of a computer that blinked execute, execute,
Mm.
execute. Yes, why? Yes. So yeah. So is there anything else you want to talk about in the plastic world, the realm? Or is that the only figures you wanted to show off? Or what else you got here for me, buddy?
No, I mean, I pulled a couple more of these superhero squad ones. Nothing
Oh,
major, you know. I got a
ooh,
Phoenix one here. It's pretty neat.
it
You know,
is.
they put a lot of like a little kid's gonna want Namor. I don't know, but I like that they were there were some deep cuts there, and they
Yeah.
were so cheap. Because they do some deep cuts in like because they did like a 3 3/4 inch Marvel figure,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like you'd have like Hydra soldier there, and it's like, oh, cool, indeed, a Hydra soldier, fifteen
Right.
dollars. No, 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 $15 for one Hydra soldier. I mean, no.
Hey man,
I,
it's completist. You're trying to create like this entire environment. Some
but
people
if you were
do
truly a
photography.
completist, you'd buy 100 of them.
Yeah, yeah. If you were truly completist, you blow up half of them and
Maybe.
show how futile their lives and jobs really
Mm-hmm.
are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like being a member of AIM.
The beekeeper outfits. Or
Yeah, there
was
you
that
go.
AIM? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
AIM with a yellow beat. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. Yes, indeed. So, um, I mean, as far as the variety we have now, it's off the charts. You just mentioned the
Mm-hmm.
3 1/4 there figures,
Mm-hmm.
superpowers line. That's been back. McFarlane brought that back. Vehicles.
Oh
The
God.
the
But
the.
they're just so damn expensive.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's
They're
why.
just so. I mean,
I
because
yeah.
that was since it was such a huge part of our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
What kid can I mean, I remember Christmas morning during good years. It's like there might be like 15, 20 figures under the tree, you know, and you're
Yeah.
adding to your collection, your armies, your teams. Now it's like, how many could a kid possibly hope to get?
Right, but you just made the mistake of something that we established at the very beginning of this conversation.
Mm.
They're not for kids. What you had in
Well,
your hands, the Imaginext or little Hasbro
yeah.
figures, blind bag figures, those
Hmm.
are going to be for kids. You know what I mean? And adults, because adults are still going to buy them too, but they
Yeah.
are more kiddie fare.
But isn't that a problem?
Is it?
Because I mean, we're gonna die
Yes.
before the kids do.
Well, hopefully, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna die, and we're
Mm.
gonna take all of our stuff. I mean,
Yes.
we've established kids don't read comics. Kids don't play with toys because they can't afford to play with toys, and if they do get them, they're not allowed to play with them because they're
Mm.
$25 each to start. So when we die,
Yeah.
this is going with us.
Yep. Everything you see behind you now is coming with me into a hole in the
Mm-hmm.
earth. So they say 6 feet under. We're thinking more like 35 by 50
Mm-hmm.
feet. Yeah, tomb.
We're gonna live in our own Ninja Turtle sewer playset.
There you go. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You
There
know
you
what?
go.
Keep that one.
That's where they're keeping us.
Yes, please. I
They're gonna put the manhole cover down and they're gonna put concrete around it.
I
There you go.
wholeheartedly endorse that, man. I am so with that. You have no idea. But I mean, that's, kids will, if because they make so many of them, or like I know going to Ollie's, you can go see like
Mhm.
Shang-Chi figures nobody wanted, Black Panther figures, just random like movie merchandise figures that, those are for the kids because they're like $5 now because nobody wanted them. Then you give them to the
Yeah.
kids.
Here's a question.
Mm.
Were there any schoolyard rumors about the action figures growing up?
No, not that I can think of. I'm trying to think maybe because I remember Constructicons were really, really big.
Hmm.
Voltron had lead paint. There was a recall. No, but please, as you
This one
were.
is less severe than that.
Okay.
Um, that this is when Marvel was just doing like their superhero line, and then the X-Men figures started coming out, and the X-Men line launched with one female action figure,
Mm.
Storm. Storm was the character you could find everywhere. Like we had Cheap John's, which was like basically like a secondhand, not really a secondhand, but like an overstock store.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like you might be able to compare it to like I guess Big Lots. I don't know if Big Lots is nationwide,
Yeah, yeah, I
but
have one here in
yeah. So
Texas.
it's like an Odd Lots, Big Lots, Odd Lots, whatever the hell.
Mm-hmm.
And like you'd go in there, and there'd be a wall of Storm action figures
Yeah.
because nobody wanted them. And there'd be like a wall of the Invisible Woman action figure. So like the rumor was like that Marvel's just gonna stop making female figures. So if you see them, buy them because they're gonna skyrocket because they're not making any more of them. And I mean I bought the Storm one because I'm a completionist and I'm an X-Men fan, so I got one. But it's weird. I went to a Target not too long ago, and they do like the nostalgia versions. Like it's the same art kinda,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but of course they're like 25, 30 freaking dollars
Yeah, but the
now.
card stock is the same and everything. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. And the characters are bigger too.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you know it, I saw a wall of Storm action figures. Um, the only figure there was Storm, and it just threw me back into the past. It's like, wow, am I at Cheap John's again?
Yeah.
And it's like it made me wonder, like, maybe that rumor is if kids talk about figures, which they don't. It's like maybe that rumor is gonna circulate again.
Yeah, I don't know about that, buddy. I,
Oh, but
but I can only imagine someone. It's like when, for a call back to cola here, it's like when Coca Cola switched to New Coke, people were hoarding classic Coke or at the time regular
sure.
Coke. So they, just in case they don't like the new version, to which nobody did. But then someone's like, hey, man, once they make these storms, they're gone forever. All right?
Yeah.
Let's stock up on all these female figures.
Get these storms. Yep.
That's some ridiculous schoolyard talk, if you
Oh
ask
yeah.
me. So you guys should have been
And
on the short bus.
how about variants?
Mm.
Variant action figures. You talked about the repaint, like just the paint, the
Mm-hmm.
reusing the figure. Back in the day, they were less creative about it. Like you would just get you'd have the Rogue action figure.
Mm-hmm.
They would paint her hair green. She was Polaris.
Yeah.
It was the same figure, but they just painted her hair green. She was Polaris.
Yeah.
You have the Storm figure. They paint her. They change the skin color. They paint her hair red. It's Jean Grey. Like,
Sure.
did you partake in any of the variants back then?
No, but I wouldn't consider them variants. It's just repurposing of parts of the fig. I'm sure. And
But it's the whole figure.
I'm gonna get this wrong. Oh, okay. The whole figure. Just I was gonna say
Mm-hmm.
like I know with maybe it was like Robin Hood and Willow and different things. They would just take
Mm-hmm.
like Kenner or whoever would just be like, well,
Oh,
we
the
get the
old Star
body.
Wars ones. Yeah.
Yeah, we get the body for this one. Slap a
Mm-hmm.
new head sculpt on this. Bing bang
Yeah.
boom. Whatever it was the play sets. If it
Mm-hmm.
was Battle Cat or something, they just repainted him and used him for something else.
Yeah.
As far as that, no variants now though. However,
Mm-hmm.
I am not a fan of, just because I'm not a big fan of variants in any genre, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, McFarlane will do like an unpainted figure, which I'm like,
The blank cover. Why not?
yeah, yeah, right. The blank. I'm sorry. I think something just flew out of my face. You made me laugh on that one. Hopefully my camera isn't that detailed to see what.
I didn't see nothing.
Okay, thank goodness. Nobody hit rewind. But yeah, or you might get like you saying with the Funkos, like a Chase variant. For example, I just
Mhm.
showed off the electric blue Superman. I know there was a red.
Is there a red one?
Yeah, I don't know how accessible that is or what the ratios are on them.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, as far as that kind of stuff, that's never really been my bag. And to be honest with you, like I love Mad Magazine. I have an Alfred E. Newman Funko Pop. They have a Chase
Okay.
one with like his tongue sticking out. And you're like, well, I have one of them already. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's that important to me to have the one with his tongue sticking out. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
I'm not gonna yet again go crazy trying to find it. It's not
Yeah,
that
if you trip
important to me.
over it, that's one thing, but to
Exactly.
search for it,
Yeah, and
yeah,
if I found it somewhere and it was $10, yeah, why not?
why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
exactly.
You spent more on less.
Exactly. Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
So yeah. Do you have any other rumors to speak of or variants to dissect?
Um, no, maybe we'll put a pin in it and we'll come back to it.
That's always a theme, right? Now we've been away for like 8 or 9 days.
Hmm.
Did
Hmm.
we get any correspondence
We
during this
did.
time? All right, so
We
maybe we
did
can
indeed. And I'm
dive
gonna
into some
actually
of that.
do. I'm gonna do something weird here and cross the streams a little bit.
Okay, please do.
Um, Now you told me a while ago about what the hell is it called? The thing where they scan your mail before they put it in your box.
Yeah, yeah.
Informed?
Yeah, informed delivery. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So my wife goes, "Hey, you got something in the mail." I'm like, "Okay." I get mail sometimes. I'm a human.
Sure.
I have an address,
Bills.
usually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's like, "No, no, this is handwritten." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I can't make out the return address." And I look at it and I can't either because it's a bad scan. But it like someone wrote my name on an envelope. And
Okay.
I'm a paranoid guy and I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Right.
What is this? I don't know what this is. So, and of course, this is like at 7 in the morning, and mail here doesn't show up until like 4 in the afternoon, and the whole dam's like, what the hell's coming for me?
Right.
What
Yeah.
is
Uh
this?
oh.
So my mind's racing. My mind is racing because I'm paranoid at best. And I go and I'm going to cover addresses here, and I have I got a letter. You can see it says NML bag, care of me.
Okay.
So I get, we go out for our evening walk, and the thing with the mail out here is we live in these, Arizona is, or my neck of Arizona is full of these like created communities, kind of, where like we don't have mailboxes. We go to like a communal mailbox in the
Yeah.
middle of the
Sure.
community,
Yeah. Of
which
course.
sucks.
Yeah.
Coming from the East Coast, where it's like, all you had to do was like put something in the box, put the flag up, and you didn't have to worry about anything. Now having to walk a quarter mile to a damn mailbox or drive a quarter mile to a mailbox sucks. But we did that. We had our evening walk, and we go to the mailbox, and I open this thing up, freaking out, and I could make out the name when I got to the mailbox. I'm like, oh, okay. I know who that is, but I don't know what it is.
All right.
And it was our friend Chris Yu,
Hey.
who
Hey.
who wrote into the NML bag, the No Man's Land mailbag, with this show kicks, which
Ah.
which we were joking about because someone wrote into I think the As We Like It or As You Like It As Real letters page,
Yeah.
and they just put this book kicks, and they actually went and they procured a stamp, they procured an envelope,
Sure.
they wrote something down, and they sent it in the mail. They went to the post office or they went to their mailbox and put the flag up, and we joked about, well, somebody went to a lot of effort
Yeah.
to tell
Exactly. Right.
Asriel his book kick. So this letter really touched me.
Yeah. That's
Um,
special.
oh, I was over the moon, back to the moon. I was very very touched that someone would go to that kind of effort to play forward a little joke from the show.
Right.
Really meant a lot to me. Really means a lot to me. So thank you, Chris, you for that. Really brightened my day. And I tell you, I was terrified. I didn't know what it was. I'm
Yeah.
like, did I say something to make someone mad? And I'm like, who even knows who I am? Because I think I blend in everywhere. I
It's a
don't think
chain
anybody knows.
letter, right? That's
if you, if I don't tell three other shows that they kick,
yeah.
um, I will be befallen
There
by
you go. Yeah.
horrible luck. But huge thanks to Chris Yu for that. That was unexpected and very very kind.
Hey,
But we
real
did
quick,
actually,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
jump in on you, but that I know you don't like you frame things, but you don't hang things.
yeah,
That's very frame worthy.
yes,
I think that
yeah,
deserves a little, extra
I think
oomph
it might.
as far as the,
I think it might.
yeah.
It'll at the very least get bagged and boarded.
Yes, there we go. Slab
So
it.
Yes, it'll be bagged and boarded. Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of things that are framed in my room now
Yeah,
that are not hung up because I
right.
don't know how to commit. I can't even commit to a damn command strip.
Mm,
You know, one of those 3M things. I can't even commit to that. I've got my Action Comics 1000 with all 1,000 covers, which I wanted to hang up forever and I won't.
yeah.
Uh, I have the Action Comics weekly store hanger that you got me that I wanted to hang up. I'm looking at Wild Dog, Green Lantern, and Black Hawk right now, and it's there in a shadow box, but not hung up.
Well, maybe
Maybe one of
someday.
these days.
Yeah,
Maybe one of these
exactly.
days.
So there you go, Chris. You and his awesome letter should at least be
Yes,
framed and then like not hung upon the wall, but just kind of like set against
it's
the
gonna
wall.
lean against the wall
Yes,
probably,
that
just like everything else.
that's like the Louvre, baby. That's you've made
Hmm.
the big time. All right, as
Yep.
you
It's
were. I'm sorry for
yes.
interrupting.
We have an email from our friend Chris Yu as well, and he says, "Hello, the Bada Show. Just like Dave, I too have passed on my collector's madness to my son. He's into anime or anime, and has a collection of over 200 hats featuring different anime properties and characters. He doesn't even wear them. He just hangs them on hooks in the wall of his on the wall in his bedroom. He literally has no more room on his walls for any more hats. I'm pretty sure there are many more in bags under his bed that have not seen the light of day since being purchased." And that's pretty neat. I love the idea of that.
Right.
um, just a wall of hats with different logos and characters on it.
That's a tough collectible, man, as someone who owns
Mm,
so many hats that I
okay.
do, and it drives my
Hmm.
wife absolutely insane. If we tried like different like hat racks and things,
Okay.
because I do have, dude, it's just. So you know what? More power to his kid for having the wall
Hmm.
space for that, and
Sure.
being able to do that. Because just firsthand, I can tell you, love
Mm.
hats, tough to keep. You know what I mean?
Now, I own very, very few hats because I don't like covering my hair.
Well, you got
So
that beautiful mane. Look at that.
I
Look at the
know, I
moss.
know.
You
Got to
can't
keep
tame
that.
that.
Yeah, and in the sunlight it shines, so I gotta keep that out.
That salt and pepper
Um,
going on there, baby. Holy moly, silver fox, you.
a little more salt than pepper, but what are you gonna do?
Right?
I was blessed. It's all white in the front and black in the back.
Yeah.
It's like why couldn't I flip that? But what are you gonna do?
Okay.
Back to Chris. He says comic T-shirts were never something I was into back in the day, other than the summer of 1989, when thanks to the Tim Burton Batman movie, I had every Batman T-shirt they made. I never liked to advertise my fandom to the world. Strangely, I own more comic book T-shirts now in my 50s because my kids buy them for me on Father's Day, my birthday, and for Christmas. They're an easy gift for the comics lover. That and, oh boy, yes, coffee mugs. I must have a dozen different Captain America coffee mugs. Oh, me and the wife, coffee mugs are another big collectible here. Um, what's your mileage on coffee mugs?
I actually had to stop and slow down because
There's
and
no room.
that's like my hat issue, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
I just have so many, it's ridiculous. And I have them like stashed everywhere. I have some here in my bookcase. I got
Mm-hmm.
some on the other bookcase. I have some at
Oh
work
yeah.
above my desk. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a Seinfeld one. I have like a New England Patriots one, and then the
Mm-hmm.
only coffee vehicle I actually use is this giant mug that everybody always sees on air. I use this at work. I use this on the road. I have two of them,
Mm-hmm.
so I alternate.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's just like so many. What are you gonna do with them all, man? Come on.
Yeah.
I'm starting to imagine his household. It's like they kind of have to like a rock climber. We have to kind of like slide in through the front door. And, I'm gonna go up to my room now. Go up the steps, and
Got
you're
to go
like,
through the chasm.
yeah, you're like doing parkour to get around the house. Yeah.
Oh man, coffee mugs are just they're huge.
Mm.
Because I use one, just like you. I actually have one from the Salish Lodge, the place we're going to in a couple weeks. It has an owl on it. It looks really cool, and I use that one every single day,
Hmm.
multiple times a day. But yet we own hundreds of coffee mugs, and coffee mugs are made as collectible now. My
Sure.
wife has a collection of the Starbucks mugs. Every new state we go to, we have to stop at a Starbucks to
Hmm.
pick up that state's mug. When we went to Nebraska last fall, we were like, how close are we to other states? And we found out that like Iowa was like 5 minutes away. And we're like, oh, should we go to Iowa to get that coffee mug? And sure enough, we went to Iowa to get a coffee mug.
Right.
that was the extent of my stay in Iowa, was going to the first Starbucks we got to, buying a mug, and then leaving Iowa. So it's a collectible in and of itself.
But do you guys like hang them or do you sit them somewhere?
No,
Like,
they're in a cabinet.
oh,
They're in a
okay, as if
cabinet.
they were going to be used.
Sometimes they are used. Sometimes they are. But I
Okay.
mean, they're just like up on a high shelf in a cabinet, just out of the way.
Mm.
They're not in the way of anything else. We don't have to get past them to get to what stuff we use. But it's ridiculous how the collector's mindset, I guess. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, right on. I mean, there's worse things you could be spending your money and time on.
Sure,
Like,
sure. There
you
there
know,
are, there are far better, but yeah, there are definitely worse.
yeah, it could be a crack addict, crack cocaine, and here we are
It'd
talking
be,
about plastic and coffee mugs and
it-
T-shirts and things
you
that
know,
are more
it's the old
tangible.
joke. It's the old joke. It would probably be cheaper to be
Yeah, you
to
get
be
that right.
going to the alley behind the 7-Eleven twice a week. Uh,
Right.
Back to Chris here, and he's going to use a word that I don't know how to pronounce. So we're going
Okay.
to try our best.
Okay.
The merch that I did have back in the day were cloisonne pins.
Hmm.
Cloisonne pins. It's a
Mm.
word.
Okay.
He said I had the chest. I'll spell it. Cloisonne.
Oh, Clocion. I don't know. Clocion? Oh, boy. Do I get to refer to Google again?
Well, yeah, maybe,
Hey,
maybe.
Chris,
I'll read
you.
here.
Chris, you. Dumb it down, please.
We're just a couple of northeasterners here. We don't know words.
Good Lord, no.
He said I had chest albums. No, emblems. See, now I'm all verklempt here.
Uh-huh.
I had the chest emblems of Batman, Superman, Captain Marvel, Flash, Green Lantern, and Tim Drake Robin, as well as the logos for the Avengers, X-Men, and X-Factor. The cool one, Dave's favorite X-Men logo. But my pride and joy was my Captain America shield. Cap is my guy, and I wore that shield proudly. I still have them all. I even got the Cosmic Treadmill logo pin in my collection a few years ago.
Nice.
Hell yeah. They're all in a little case in my nightstand. And I still have 400 of those Cosmic Treadmill pins. If anybody wants them, let me know. They were our Patreon, gimme. If you signed up for our Patreon, we sent you this pin. We liked giving out physical pieces, not not like the thank you email. You got a thank you email as well, but we wanted people to have a little piece of the show, and so we had these really neat Cosmic Treadmill pins made up. So if anybody would like a Chris and Reggie's Cosmic Treadmill pin, they're free and they're available. Chris continues. Oh, how about you? Do you have any pins? Did you do any pins?
No, I don't have a ton. I'm sorry, I'm Googling, and I'm trying to,
Oh,
like,
Cloisonne?
yes, Closony. Closony? I may have saying it wrong. Closony, I would assume.
Maybe ask Siri to say it.
No, I will not. I do have the Cosmic Treadmill pin, which was an
Hmm.
awesome enamel pin, man. That thing,
Oh, yeah.
enamel, much easier to say.
Then
Just
Cloisonne.
throwing it out there.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I got some random ones. I know I have the within reach here. Let's see if I can do this. This is
Mm.
always fun. Gymnastics as I'm on the air. Try not to bust
Gym
anything.
Gymnastics was a great comic from the mid '80s.
That was quite the callback there. I got the
There it is,
let
Lex
me
2000.
the Lex 2000 pin here, which was
Mm-hmm.
the old giveaway, you know.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
one of my favorites for
yep.
sure.
I'm just gonna
And
keep holding this out for the rest of the episode like this. Hi,
hey, remember to
hey.
vote Lex, everybody.
Yes, please.
And I got the there's like a Batmite and Mr. Miziel Pitalik had like a one shot back in the late '90s, and they each got a little pin, and those were pretty cool.
Uh huh.
Trying to think of what else I have. I remember during Flashpoint, DC put out pins of every Flashpoint tie-in miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have like the Ferris Airways one from the Hal Jordan mini. I have the Superman from what was that? Project Superman, whatever the Flashpoint mini was.
Okay.
I got a few of those, which were pretty cool.
Now we keep calling them pins, but couldn't we also call them buttons?
We could call them buttons. We could very well call them buttons.
Just asking. I mean, just
Yeah, I guess the one that you just held up and the ones I'm talking about are more considered buttons.
Okay.
like that round, not like enamel, but like kind of like folded metal sort of
Sure.
gimmick.
Yeah, yeah. They're really cheap. I remember I used to make them in high
Yeah,
school. We had like a little
yeah, you
machine.
had those
Yeah.
machines with the little press.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, yeah, those were pretty neat.
And
Now
close.
back to Chris.
Sorry, real
Okay.
quick, but close on is just enamel. So you could have just said enamel.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm doing
well,
some more research here. He could have just said enamel.
well, enamel is a $2 word.
That's my kind of currency
We're
right
going
there.
for value. We're going for value.
Exactly.
Back to Chris's message here. He says Jaws is the single greatest movie ever made.
Hell yeah.
Chris needs to watch this movie on 4th of July. It really should be a 24-hour marathon every Independence Day. Never seen it. I played the Nintendo game. That's about
You
as
want to
much
know a
as I
funny
know.
thing about Jaws?
Yes.
Like Jaws 1 is iconic film. I mean, it
Hmm.
really was great because the villain, you didn't even see the villain in the movie and get scared. All you needed to do was hear the music.
Oh
And
yeah.
I always talk about anticipation being that number one thing. Well, there you go.
Hmm.
Jaws
Hmm.
2, a lot of people didn't like it. Different director. I enjoyed
Okay.
it. But Jaws 3, also known as Jaws
Hmm.
3D, is the
Okay.
kicker. Because at this point, the main character, his kids have grown up. One of them works at SeaWorld. The other one is at school, I believe, in Colorado. But the
Hmm.
main son is played by Dennis Quaid. And the interesting thing that I'm trying to get to here is that both kids were raised in New England on Amity Island. But in this movie, the youngest son wants to be a cowboy and dresses like a cowboy. And the
Hmm.
older son, being Dennis Quaid, neither of them have a hint of a New England accent. You wouldn't be able to know that they were like even related to the original kids from the first two movies, one iota. And but you know what? The saving grace was it had Louis Gossett Jr. in it. So now we can continue.
This has nothing to do with anything, but you mentioned something there that stuck out to me. How do you feel about shows that are supposed to be in a particular area? Places we're from, New York, Massachusetts, where the people have no hint of an accent.
Um, I don't know. Of course, it takes away from the authenticity of the whole thing. But I
Hmm.
think, at least speaking for me, and I'm sure for you as well, because I mean, God,
Hmm.
how much New York stuff is out there? But
Oh, too much.
when you think Massachusetts, you start thinking like instant
Cheers.
movies. The Cheers, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There's one with not a lot of people have the accents, but I'm
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
more
Only
like
Cliff.
yeah, like Ben Affleck movies or Matt Damon stuff, like The
Hmm.
Town, The Departed. I was gonna say Departed, um, which I don't know if you've seen that one. Jack Nicholson, Leonardo
I don't see
DiCaprio.
movies.
That
I don't
one's
see
really
movies.
good. But those guys, like, they go for it, man. Like,
I heard about that on the Duck Tour.
oh, did you?
Yeah, they pointed out all the places where movies were taking place
Yeah. So Departed
on the
was
weird
very good.
Duck Tour.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing
Yeah.
a Boston Celtics hat today. I don't know if people can see
Hey, there
that
you
because they are
go.
in the NBA Finals and won Game One last night. Woo!
Huh.
So there you go.
Basketball.
Yeah. So how do you feel about it?
I don't like it
Oh.
because I go back to like a Taxi, where
Mm.
it's like, okay, this is clearly a New York show,
Hmm.
where everybody's, and then like we watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine not too long ago, and it's like there's no accent at all.
I
Like
mean,
even on Seinfeld, there was very little accent. Sometimes
yeah,
George would like it
yeah,
would
yeah,
pop
yeah.
out of George on occasion,
Right, right.
but it's like they don't sound anything like it ain't Louis De Palma, it ain't Judd Hirsch doing talking. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe bugs me is too strong a term, but
Well, I
it
used to
takes me out.
wonder about Southern folk because I'm like, there's not a
Hmm.
lot of TV shows based on Southern people and the
Hmm.
accents because, to be quite frank, they're annoying. Uh,
You
like,
just killed a portion of our
well,
viewing public there.
I'm sorry, but living in Texas, we
Blanche
hear like,
Devereaux ain't gonna listen now.
yeah, 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 exactly. What was that? What was that? Grace Under Fire. There you go. There's a show.
Oh, with Brett Butler or
Yeah,
whatever.
that had a
Yeah.
heavy Southern accent to it, but I was like, they're very that accent in particular is very unrepresented in the sitcom realm. You
We
guys
need
can
more Delta Burke.
there you go. Have your Reba,
Do declare.
have your
Yeah.
who is that guy Jeff Foxworthy, and right now I'm just rattling off names that I wouldn't want to be associated with anyway. So to have them be the
The
gatekeepers of
spokespeople.
yeah, exactly of the accent just
There you
hurts.
go.
I mean, I'd rather have Ben Affleck than all of them, and he's pretty silly. You know what I mean? But yeah. So sorry, Southern folk, but you guys, I don't know, man. drive me crazy. And I've
Mm.
been in the South, and some areas are nice and what have you, and people can be friendly. But that, hey there, how y'all doing? What's going on with you? I'm like, oh god, did a ding 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 ding.
Well,
Yeah,
kiss my grits.
there you go. There we go. So
Now back to Chris's email.
Chris continues.
He got into the old 1940s radio series. Remember, we showed off the that
Yes,
weird Superman cassette thing there. He said he got into those back in his college days in the early 90s. He used to have a few cassettes of the Superman and the Lone Ranger shows. Superman and Batman set you showed is awesome. I would have loved that in the 90s and probably wouldn't leave it behind if I saw it today. It would probably sit next to my old movie serial DVDs. Now, how do you feel about the when DVDs became a thing, we
mm,
got such a, I don't want to say glut because it wasn't bad, but like we got so many things were made available to us. Not things that I'm terribly interested in, obviously, but did you partake in any of that kind of stuff? You know, when seasons of comic related shows started showing up, or the old serials were being collected for the first time off of like reels.
no,
Did you grab any of that?
no, no, not really. I remember when, for example, like the Roger Corman's Fantastic Four movie was
Oh yeah, that
in
was like
my.
a comic convention, staple.
They made the movie just so they wouldn't lose the rights to the
Lose the
movie.
trait. Yeah.
But I remember seeing that on VHS. It was at my video store, and I was like blown
Hmm.
away. I was like, "What the hell? This is amazing!" But as far as DVDs go, I did collect some of the original Incredible Hulk stuff, like the TV movies, the Trial of the
The
Incredible Hulk.
Bixby's. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
But DVDs are an interesting thing to bring up to me because
Hmm.
I was looking. If you notice, I was trying to look down here.
Sure.
One of my favorite movies and the most incredible DVD I own is like the initial release of Boogie Nights. Now,
Okay.
Boogie Nights, are you familiar with that at all?
Nope.
Okay. Dude, I'm telling you, it's tough with you, man. Sometimes you know stuff, and I feel bad. Oh, I know it's down here. Where the hell is it? And the reason why I'm looking for it like this and
Hmm.
trying to rummage so is because DVDs now, should you buy one, there is
Hmm.
nothing, absolutely nothing to them.
Hmm.
Okay? So you spend whatever, 18, $20 on a DVD. Oh, here we are, baby. And you got like inside, it's like when you used to buy a CD, you'd have like the lyrics and stuff in
The
them.
booklets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
There's
now
no
you
booklets anymore.
no,
Yeah.
all you have is like an
Same with video
advertisement.
games. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, real quick, and this is really dusty. I'm getting dust in my face as I do this. So this is a labor of love. This is the original Boogie Nights. I remember walking through a blizzard to buy this
Hmm.
when I first got a DVD player. Slipcase, covered
Hmm.
in dust. Hello. But as I open the package here, oh geez, more things are falling out here. This is not made for
It
TV.
actually looks. It actually looks special.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
And you have like
Hmm.
so much bonus material.
Yeah.
And it was like included with,
Hmm.
and that was the big thing about DVDs was you had the not only Easter eggs that you could find on the
Sure.
DVD, which were a lot of fun, but all the bonus materials and bloopers
Hmm.
and things of that nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It wasn't like a VHS tape. Yeah. You could just fit. You could compartmentalize different areas of the DVD and stuff. It was a bounty.
the proof of purchase is what this is. It looks like a popsicle stick fell out on me,
It was
but
a litmus test. Yeah.
yeah, there is a pregnancy test. Congratulations, it's a boy.
Yay.
Yeah, but still, like, and the reason why I even have this DVD, not with my other DVDs, but over here on my bookshelf, is because
Hmm.
it means so much to me that this is once was what you would get
That was the standard.
when you bought a DVD, and
Yeah.
now, like, just like Figs, I pre-order certain DVDs because I want the
Hmm.
physical media,
Sure.
and to get anything, you need to
Hmm.
get the Blu-ray, DVD, digital code
Yep.
combo.
4K. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, or you need the steelbook, or you need whatever. Like,
Hmm.
if you just spend $20, you're just getting the movie.
Yeah.
No, well, you're ripping
Yeah.
me off, man. Bring me back to the good old
Exactly.
days. Give me this package. Give this to me. Give me everything. I want to be able to sit here for 6 hours. The movie's only an hour and a half long, or 2 hours
Sure.
long.
It's the least interesting part of the package.
I want to be there for an entire afternoon enjoying all the B-side material, or whatever of the
Hmm.
film. So yeah.
I'd gotten a gift. It was the first X-Men movie on DVD, but it was X-Men 1.5,
Oh yes, I
which
remember
I
that.
thought was so cool. I never watched it, but I thought it was so cool that it was like it was different, you know. It was like there was extra. It felt like a more complete version
Mm,
of the original, so it
yes.
felt pretty cool. Yeah, I still have that just kicking around somewhere.
You know what this DVD needed to come with is a lint brush because I'm dust bunnied out. And actually, you talking about the X-Men 1.5,
Hmm.
there was the Hulk movie that came out with Edward Norton.
The Ang Lee.
No, 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 no. This is after. And
Okay.
there was and this is actually with my DVD collection. So of course I don't hold it
Hmm.
as close to my heart as this Boogie Nights
Sure.
here. But you can only get it at Target, and it has like this
Okay.
plastic hard slip thing on the front that you have to like snap apart. But it's like the Hulk breaking through bricks.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And I think I only paid like $20 for that too. Like, come on, man,
That's
give me
neat.
some special packaging, baby. Give me X-Men 1.5. You know,
There you
come on.
go. Now my DVD collection is mostly anime, so I've got probably a couple hundred anime DVDs somewhere.
Uh huh.
Um, and those used to be really special too. They would come with a lot of extra stuff. Sometimes they'd like get the cast to like talk, like do commentary the whole way through the movie
Right.
or the show, and
Mm-hmm.
really cool stuff that they. I feel like I mean, with the internet and just with like YouTube and stuff, I don't know that it's necessary anymore, but it was cool to have it while we did.
I had a
It,
buddy who was filing for bankruptcy,
mhm.
and this was in like the late '90s.
Passing the savings on to you.
No, and what he decided to do was just max out credit cards, buying random crap like
Oh, jeez.
blenders and coffee makers or whatever. But one thing he did do is he invested heavily, and this is like the worst investment of all time, especially long term. You know, when you're trying specifically to go to broke, it'd be great if you
Yeah,
spent that money on something that had
on something that
some
could.
legs, some staying
Yeah.
power. Laser disc, and he has so many laser discs. But I remember that's the first time I ever saw like commentary on anything
Okay.
was the
Okay.
bonus material on a laser disc.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had so many movies, and
Oh, jeez.
we used to just sit at his house, hang out, and just like, hey man, let's watch the actors talk about the movies on this laser disc, man. And it was like that was happening. That was an awesome Friday night,
Sure.
you
Sure.
know. So yeah, poor guy. Guy files bankruptcy, and I was like, "What are you doing? You get all this awesome stuff." He's like, "Yeah, man, I gotta max out these credit cards so I can tell the government I can't pay." Like, okay.
There you go.
I'm like, look out Columbia House, look out BMG. You thought you guys get
One
scammed.
penny. Yep.
Yeah. You guys think you get scammed by P.O. boxes. Wait till my buddy Bill shows up with his Amex and buys a daiquiri maker and
There you
a
go.
and Black Hawk Down on Laserdisc.
Jesus.
Random movie. I don't even know if it's available on Laserdisc.
Oh
But
boy.
anyway, yes.
Oh, back to Chris here. He's a little bit
Please.
more. He says, I would love to hear about your action figure collections. Action figure collecting is even more nuanced endeavor than comic collecting. And yeah, we spent a good deal of time talking about action figures. We probably just scratched the surface. But I'm sure there's more we can talk about for sure. Uh, I know there's more I could talk about from my youth doing it. I guess, I think we might have talked about this off the air, but as a teenager, you mentioned that, you'd play with them or you'd hang them up or whatever. Were you ever outed for playing with them? Would you
Um,
ever out yourself?
no, I can recall specifically. And this is very coincidental because I saw one of the
Hmm.
figures at Lone Star in Galveston. The
Hmm.
last gasp of air I had of wanting to ever play with anything were the Dick Tracy movie toys.
Okay, yeah, those were cool.
I loved them. And Dick Tracy the movie when that came out. I
Hmm.
mean, we were still riding high over Batman and everything else, so it was just like, yeah, man, more comic book stuff. And even then, like, I didn't know anything really, despite the fact it'd been around forever. Dick Tracy.
Yeah, nobody really did. I
That
don't
was
think the kids of our age anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's like old
Yeah,
people stuff, you know. But
yeah.
still, it was cool. Like, and I
That was
took
so colorful.
wicked, wicked. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, unbelievable. And
yeah.
my family took a trip to Lake George, New York,
Hmm.
and I had a few of the figs with me. One of which was like Storm. It was the Dustin Hoffman Mumbles figure. Nobody wanted
Hmm.
Mumbles. Um, but I remember like having
Peg
them in
warmers.
the
That
yeah.
could be a whole segment. Peg
Right?
warmers.
Peg warmers. There you
Hmm.
go. And I remember having it in the back seat of the car, just thinking like, "Hey man, these are really cool," and like almost like faux picking them up to like be like, "Let me play with him in the back seat." And I think I was like
Sure.
12. And I'm like, you know what though? I think I can really admire looking at them.
Hmm.
Maybe that's where it all. Maybe there's a catalyst, the
That
impetus,
could be.
the
Could
origin
be.
story for
Hmm.
where I am today. But yeah, but I was never embarrassed or
Mm.
never like guilted myself. Like, what am I still doing playing with toys? You know?
We kind of kept it close to the vest. Like we weren't shy that we bought them because I mean, me and my friends, we were big X-Men fans, and X-Men figures were just like kind of just everywhere. And I remember we would read in Wizard, and they would say like what was coming up, what was coming out, and we saw that there was like a long shot figure coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were walking home from one of the comic shops on Montauk Highway, and and we're like, oh man, a long shot figure. And then we both like at the same time said like, yeah, we'll probably just have him die. And then we looked at each other and we're like, crap. Like, because we never even let each other know that like we would have battles with these things on occasion. And it's like
Right.
at the same time we both like outed ourselves. And it's like, okay. Our secret shame is no longer secret.
Should have bonded over that though. I mean, you
I
shouldn't have
think
been
we
like,
did. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we did. Yeah, you know, yeah, share stories and whatnot. But yeah, it was still like kind of like it was a little uncomfortable. Chris wraps up his email by wishing you a fun vacation.
Well, that's mighty nice of him. I did have a good time.
Hmm.
One thing I guess I could note that's other than being bit by a creature that I can't identify,
Sea monkey.
possibly
I'm sure it was a sea monkey.
the book is open on that. I mean,
Hmm.
realistically,
Hmm.
we'll never know.
And
But
only one of you has a lifetime guarantee.
well, I have insurance,
The sea
buddy.
monkey.
That's one good thing about being an adult. I don't have Sea Monkey insurance, but I have something called Dave insurance. Now, I last year you are aware of this because you're my dear good friend, and I let you know
Hmm. Hmm.
everything. I get the worst sunburn of my life
Yes.
on vacation in Galveston, where I mean, I was up in the middle of the night with like shivers, and I was hot and I was cold. I had sun
Hmm.
poisoning, man. I really should have gone to the ER. This year, I swore not to repeat. I got SPF 100,
Hmm.
and when we went to the beach, I I mean, I coated myself. I look like the freaking Marlon Brando from the island of Dr. Moreau.
I
Like,
don't
no
get that
lie.
reference, but I'll laugh
You,
anyway.
you can Google that and you will laugh later, okay? Put a pin in that one.
Okay.
So at one point, I'm like, well, I want to go to Lone Star Heroes. My wife's tired, but she's like, we can do stuff later. And I said to my kid, I'm like, dude, it's a beautiful day.
Hmm.
We're in
Let's huff it.
paradise. Let's hoof it. It's 2 miles from here.
Hmm.
Let's just go, man. Now you underestimate how long 2 miles are or is when it's like 90 something degrees and the sun's bearing down on you. Big mistake. Me and my kid, we were just like dying halfway there. And at any point, I could have just called an Uber. I could have called my wife and said, "Come pick us up." Something.
Hmm.
My son was having like side pains. He was like, "Dad, I need to sit down. My ribs hurt."
Hmm.
And I didn't bring any water. And the worst part is my wife, who's always right, was like, "Bring some water. Oh, make sure you wear some sunscreen." I didn't
That's more
sun.
stuff I gotta carry.
Well, no, I mean I could have applied the sunscreen on it at the
Sure, sure.
hotel,
Could have done that.
but here's the thing: I didn't sunburn myself at the beach. I sunburned myself on the damn walk. My
You felt the
legs
burn.
red as a lobster. The back of my neck got burnt. So it took us like 40 minutes. It felt like to get there, and so it took a super long time. When I was digging, I was exhausted. Like the soul had left my body. My son was just like, "Let's get out of here. Let's call mom." Like, no, don't you call your mother. Don't you dare. We will not admit defeat. I'm like, things do not get achieved without sacrifice. Don't you understand?
Hmm.
You do not get a copy of Action Comics with
Got
Crypto the
Crypto the
Super
Super
Dog
Dog here, damn it.
on the cover without dehydrating your very essence to reach the spot to dig. So yeah, that was my story. That was the sunburn I got, and it's nothing in comparison to last year, of course.
Yeah.
But I did get a little color of the red. But I do appreciate the well wishes for the vacation. Family vacations are always fun, and just like anything, it's work. There's it's
Hmm.
not like, especially when you're a dad or a husband, there's always something to do, as far as
Sure.
like keep your eye on this and be aware of that. But still, we had a lot of fun. And then the one other thing I'd like to mention was the weather wasn't great for the trip.
Hmm.
So we had designated one day because I have a setup I bought. a canopy, I got a beach tent, I got chairs, I got all this stuff. I'm like, this day we are
Mm-hmm.
going from sun up to sundown. We're going to the beach no matter what. Wednesday, we go there early in the morning. We set everything up for an hour. We're like, this is what we wanted. This is it. We see some gray clouds in the distance. Yeah, maybe I'll trickle some rain. Oh, hell no. The winds came in, took my canopy up in the air. It was Auntie M, Auntie M. Things were flapping around, flying down the beach, everything else. We had to bail out of there. I'm trying to wrap everything up and grab things while the rain is pelting me. And it didn't clear up until like, so we left at like 10:30 or something,
Mm-hmm.
or 11. It didn't clear up till 5 o'clock at night. But by
Oof.
gosh, we went back and we enjoyed the rest of the day at the beach, and it was beautiful. But yeah,
There you go.
there's a
There
bunch
you
of
go.
stories. I have more, but I will contain them to the potato on top of my neck.
There you
So
be.
yes, there
There
I
you
be.
be.
And that's all he had, right? The
Yep, that
email.
was it.
Look at
That
that
was it.
wonderful
So
email from Chris
big
U,
thanks. Yep.
and wonderful snail mail from Chris U.
Yeah, totally unexpected and totally touching for sure.
Yes. So keep them coming, and if anybody else
Hmm.
wants to write in and suggest anything, tell us anything. I do know these aren't specifically emails per se, but I do
Hmm.
get some comments via text. And
Oh,
Sean
very cool.
Haggerty is someone that we mentioned.
Hey, yes.
He thinks we are the grumpiest men in the world, and we hate everything.
Not
So,
everything.
well, I mean, he's trying to play off like we are just we're like the two guys from the Muppets up in the
Hmm.
balcony, just
Hmm. Hmm.
naysaying and like there's no tomorrow.
Poo-pooing.
Well, I tried to explain to him. I'm like, we're not of the age where everything is great just because we have it. Because it seems like a lot of people are appreciative of things
Hmm.
for the reason only because it exists. And that's a
Hmm.
wonderful mindset to have. I can appreciate that, right? It's
I can
here.
envy that.
Exactly. But we are of the
Hmm.
Seinfeld generation where we have to criticize and second guess everything. You know what I mean?
Who are these people?
Yeah. Grape nuts. No grapes. No nuts. I don't want to be a
You
pirate.
drive on the parkway, you park on the driveway.
There you go. Right. But at the same time, you get what I'm saying. Like, that's our
Hmm.
era where, yes, we will complain about $3 comics and we will complain about this or gripe and da 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 and moan and groan. But you know what? I think that's who our audience should be anyway.
Or
So,
Gen X, yeah.
so Sean, to you, my friend, I do appreciate you tuning in, but we
Hmm.
are who we are, and that's who we are. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of us out there on the earth.
So maybe we should vow to do an episode where it is all positive.
Mm, well,
I think we should endeavor toward that sort of an episode, a completely positive experience.
I do think a lot of what we say is positive. We're having a good
Oh yeah.
time, you
Oh yeah, I
know.
mean it's positive. We have our spin on it, but we also, not to say that a lot of people aren't living in reality. I think we ground ourselves.
Hmm.
We're um what's the word here? It means realist. We're it's
Grounded.
we're pragmatic. We're
Okay,
pragmatic.
thank you. Okay.
Yeah, we're pragmatic with our praise and our criticism. We
Yes.
and everything. We all have our prisms.
And I mentioned earlier, we're not 10 out of 10 kind of guys. You know what I mean?
No,
I,
but we're
yeah.
also not 0 out of 10 guys.
No. I like to think
No.
that we're fair. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, if I saw a book and it had like a 7 out of 10,
That's the one I'm going to be attracted to. That's the reviewer I'm going to be attracted to checking out.
exactly. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they're going to give you that honest review. They're going to give
Mm-hmm.
you that real take. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you're a creator and you get a 7 out of 10, you shouldn't be like, oh man, how did I lose 3 points?
That's a death threat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, what have I done? It's like, no, you wrote something really, really good. Really good, you know?
Better
So,
than average.
much, you know? So, there you
Mm-hmm.
go. All right, buddy. I mean, I think I should also mention that we're going to have some quick turnaround
Mm-hmm.
on episodes because I return to work next week. I have very limited time off because I took this week off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're doing the show today. It's Friday. I believe we're going to do another one on Monday.
We are aiming for Monday for
Mm.
sure.
So keep that in your thoughts. If you want to do the live stream, the beauty of YouTube is we're here whenever you want us to be.
Uh-huh. On demand.
There you go. The show is live. Doesn't mean you have to be here live. We appreciate if you are, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's God bless the internet. Here we are
Hmm.
all the time, 24/7, 3 a.m. You can't sleep.
There you
You
go.
want some warm
We'll
milk?
help you go to sleep.
You want some
Well,
warm
we
milk
we
and some
are your
Bada
warm
bin?
milk.
Yeah, exactly. That's an Urban Dictionary. Yes. So
Ugh.
there you go. So yes, Monday should be the day. And then if you have any preferred times you'd like to see the show, maybe tune in live. Let us know that. Like we're
Hit us up.
always wanting to know everything. Tell us everything.
Hmm.
Write in about
We
anything.
want it
Everything.
all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You get a
Hmm.
cat with 8 toes? Tell us about it.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know?
The
I
double
think.
Hemingway.
Okay. That too. But yeah, I think unless Chris has anything else, I think we should sign off.
Yeah,
And
no,
what's up?
yeah. I think we're good. I'm going for I'm having a cheat meal today.
Ooh,
Yes.
what
Yeah,
is it?
we're going out to. Well, it's the same cheat meal as The Rock. It's pancakes.
Okay.
Pancakes.
I'm not familiar with The
Yeah.
Rock's diet or his preferred
He
snacks.
he posts pictures of himself behind giant stacks of pancakes, which I can't do. I can't do the giant stack.
Okay.
But every once in a while, I like to shake things up. It beats the chicken breast with sugar-free barbecue sauce. So
Okay. Very nice. I
yeah.
hope you enjoy them thoroughly. Your big fat
Oh, it's
stack.
gonna have some pancakes and some egg whites. So be
Hey,
all
man.
good.
You know, just give yourself those little treats. I still have a couple boxes of Cadbury cream eggs in my freezer. Maybe I'll hit those up.
There you go. There
Who
you go.
knows?
I was actually going to send you a picture I found of a car that was designed to look like a Cadbury cream egg. Yeah, like like the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
Yeah.
It was like this little car in somewhere in Britain
Did you
that
take the
was.
picture? Do
I've
you
not
have
been to
it?
Britain. I can find it.
Well, I know you haven't been to Britain, but I mean, do you screen shoot it or whatever? I gotta see
Uh,
this.
It's somewhere. I don't know where it is. It might be on my phone, so I'll
Uh,
have to send it to you.
the fuzzy kitten
Yeah.
file. All right,
Hmm.
that
Fuzzy
works.
bunnies.
Fuzzy bunnies, baby. All right, then. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I
Yes.
do appreciate it wholeheartedly for tuning in. Make sure you reach out. I'm Dave. That's
Hmm.
Chris, and I think we are signing off now. So thank you very much.
See ya.
See you next time.